how their positioning will stay. There's many changes in the tarmac and the paving stones, and then you have the 4 tight right-handers as well on the top end of the circuit. So it's a very technical circuit, and it goes from very wide, like you can see now, and then it'll go very narrow. So you've just got to be tentative and aware, and just be aware of your positioning, and keep focused.
So through the line to complete another lap, and Cycle Team on form on front, and appropriately named team, in fact, Cycle Team on form. Their star rider for this evening is likely to be Anna Henderson, just 19 years of age, Anna, but a couple of great wins in the Tour Series this year, the Women's Tour Series, and also some good finishes in the Women's Road Series as well. Second place in the Tour of the Reservoir just a couple of weeks ago, to add to her second place at the very tough Lincoln Grand Prix, which of course takes in 8 climbs of the leg sapping ascent of Michael. No particularly uphill sections on this course in Stockton upon Tees. The technical nature of this circuit is the twisty, turny nature of the course, but you can see the long line of riders snaking around the corner. There's Jo Tindley, another rider with vast experience. She was one of the first rounds of the Matrix Fitness Women's Grand Prix Series back in the early 2000s when that race series got underway. Of course, this year it's been a fully fledged part of the Tour Series, and many of these riders have had a whole diet of criterium racing over the last couple of months. And of course, this is the one everyone wants to win, to take away that red, white and blue national champion jersey and be crowned the HSBC UK British Cycling National Circuit Champion for 2018, but still no advantage gain, so the riders making sure they get themselves a good position towards the front. This criterium racing discipline, if you're new to it, it's all about not just speed but bike handling as well, is absolutely to the utmost importance. And the reason for that is, as you go into these corners, the rider on the front can virtually pick her own line through the corner, but further down the field you see the riders grappling for position, and quite often you need to just squeeze the brakes just to moderate your speed into those corners and then accelerate out. So when you're on the front you can pick your own line through, and it's still Cycle Team on form with that leading position as they go through once more, as they come towards completion of another lap. The big screen in the background showing the crowd the action, and a nice overhead shot as the riders speed through the line. Still the colours of many teams represented there. A little attacking move going here on the right hand side, the first significant increase in pace we've seen, Hannah, in the last few moments.
Yeah, it's been Anna Henderson on the front. You can just see how important positioning is, as you can just see Beth Crumpton now from Story Racing on the front. Very good bike handling skills. She's a cyclocross rider predominantly, but as she comes round here, you can just see already the peloton started to split in half. It just shows how important the positioning is, because as you keep kicking out of those corners, there's only so many times you can do it until the elastic snaps. So you're coming out of these tight hairpins in all the corners, and the person who's leading the race is already halfway up the straight before you're even coming out of the corner. So these riders here, it looks like this move will stay away, because obviously once the riders in the back half of the peloton start getting tired, it's just too hard to chase.
There's a great deal of youth and experience in the mix of the 44 riders taking the start here. Quite a few riders, when we were looking at our bio notes earlier in the week before we came to the commentary here this afternoon, riding potentially their first senior national championships here on the streets of Stockton upon Tees. But of those riders with more experience, another one I would certainly point you towards looking out for the team of Story Racing, as Hannah mentioned, Beth Crumpton on the front. We saw a few moments ago, but just behind her, about third or fourth place in the line, is EJ Harris. She's actually an army doctor by profession, but she's a really strong sprinter as well. In fact, she won the sprint series overall in the Tour Series last year, and a strong rider for Story Racing, in good form as well. She ran the women's race at the Bristol Grand Prix this weekend just gone, and she too will be a rider who will be licking her lips at the potential for this circuit. Really could come down to a fearsome sprint towards the finish line. But speaking of team dominance, Team Breeze, as Laura mentioned in her introduction, they've had a great year, of course, no more so than taking that national road title right here in the Northeast. It's a couple of weeks ago for Jess Roberts, and she's on Team Breeze. Strong team here this evening. Megan Barker, who won the first 2 rounds of this year's Tour Series, and other riders who certainly keep your eye on. Unfortunately, Ellie Dickinson, who we did flag up towards the beginning of the programme as well, not taking the start this evening. One of the DNFs on our start list, so she unfortunately not able to race here this evening, but strong team nevertheless for Team Breeze, and they're in those red jerseys, and I saw them riding around the course a little bit earlier, just checking out the corners as well. But it's still on the front. Cycle Team on form, really making sure that she holds on to that lead position. Anna Henderson is the rider involved there, number 12 on her back. She was in third place in the Great Britain Under-23 Time Trial Championships over in Stamford just a fortnight ago at the National Championships. As I mentioned, that's a great second place finish at the Tour of the Reservoir as well. And also, there's been a real focus here in the northeast of England over the recent weeks for racing. We've had the National Championships here. We've, of course, got the National Criterium Championships here this evening. We had the Tour of the Reservoir a couple of weeks ago. It really has been a hotbed of cycling. And, well, I'm pleased to say that the sun is shining. We had an incredible summer so far, but we thought earlier today maybe we'd be grappling with some inclement weather. But the sun once again has broken through here. You see the shadow being cast by Anna Henderson's bike, and the gap is growing, Hannah. Henderson's advantage is increasing.
Yeah, I spoke to her earlier, just before the start, and she said she was keen just to race it how she normally races it, rather than, kind of coming here thinking, oh, it's a National Criterium Championships. She just wants to race how she normally does, and this is what she's doing. We saw her do this at Aberystwyth Tour Series back in May, and yeah, she won solo and basically lapped the whole peloton. So, she's not holding anything back, and she said she feels like she's in good form. So it's great to see her not being phased by the thought of winning this National Championships jersey, but she'll be hoping maybe in a few laps that these two riders will get across to her, and if they create a break of 3, that would be the perfect ideal scenario for her. It's the former champion Nicky Juniper coming across. Oh well,
trouble here in the pits, and no laps out in criterium racing these days, right? There's unshipped a chain for the Liv AWOL team, and just behind unlucky number 13 there, also with a mechanical problem. That's a teammate of Anne Henderson, Charmaine Porter, who is in the pits there. Henderson continued on the front, but the chase continues behind from NJC BME Echelon. But yeah, it's worth mentioning that in the good old days of criterium racing, we used to be able to take a lap out if you had a mechanical problem and rejoin the race without disadvantage. But a few years ago, that rule was taken away from the British cycling rules. These days, you can still stop in the pits, you can get your mechanical difficulty rectified, but you then have to chase your way back into the action. And with the pace these riders are going at, particularly the pace being set by Anna Henderson on the front, if you find yourself in the pits and having to get your bike looked at, it's a hard chase back, Hannah.
Yeah, definitely. We saw Anna Henderson just a couple of weeks ago at Otley Grand Prix. She snapped a gear cable, actually, had a bike change because there was no laps out, and she was chasing for the whole race, never made it back to the peloton, which was a real shame, as it was a course that would have suited her. But yeah, it's the way the rules are, and it's the same for everyone then. But it does mean that you've got a hard chase on your hands.
Now look here, Nicky Juniper is in this little chasing group behind her teammate Joe Tindley, just sitting on the front of that group with a whole phalanx of Team Breeze riders on her wheel. But really one of the favourites, as I mentioned earlier, the only former winner of this Circuit Race Championships here this evening, Nicky Juniper. And great season for Nicky so far. She's ridden well in the Women's Elite Road Series. Third place in the Lincoln, the Cycle Classic, and also the Tour of the Reservoir as well. And she really would be a deserved winner, especially after the horrible season she had last year. A couple of really serious injuries that took her out of contention for the majority of last year. But she really did come back in incredible form, winning several rounds of the Tour Series at the early part of the season this year, and she definitely will be one of the favourites. But Anna Henderson is making the front of the race her own. Now, when you're on your own like this, we did mention earlier, it's great to be at the front so you can pick your own line into the corners, but Hannah, the amount of effort you have to exert here to stay away when the chase is on behind, it really does sap your strength, particularly on a very warm evening like this evening.
Yeah, definitely, but it does mean that you can go into the bends and the corners at your own pace. You don't have to brake for anything, and a lot of these corners, apart from the hairpins, you have to brake a little bit, but the other top right-handers, it's sweeping, so you carry speed through. You don't have to stop for anyone. You can take your own line, and you just think about yourself. You've got no one around you. Anna's actually opting for a very big gear to sprint out of these hairpins. I don't know if that's going to sap her legs towards the end of this race and kind of put her in a bit of difficulty, but she seems to be keeping that gear going very smooth. She looks solid on the bike, and Nicky Juniper behind her and Rona Callender, the winner from Otley GP, they just can't close the gap to Anna.
Yeah, I was just going to flag up Rona Callender there, Hannah. Of course, we both saw her take a great win ahead of Mel Lowther in the race at Otley just a couple of weeks ago. And Rona Callender, of course, one of the Team Breeze riders with a very strong track background, as many of the riders have. And she, of course, that winner of the Otley Grand Prix, adding her name to an illustrious list of former winners of that particular race. So she, too, is in good form. But Anna Henderson, at the early part of this race, you see the Town Hall clock just showing 15 minutes of racing completed so far. And virtually no sight of the chasers now behind Henderson. She's got almost the length of the finishing straight here ahead of the chase group behind. Our camera just foreshortening the distance a little, but one of the riders is about to be passed by the chase group behind. So if you lose a lap here, really is very disheartening indeed. But it's still NJC BME Echelon with Nikki Juniper making sure she stays in a good position. She's been pretty much rooted in second spot here, chasing Anna Henderson. But Henderson has obviously made her mind up right from the start where she wants to be. And that plan really is falling into place at the moment as she leans into another corner. Very smooth tarmac section of the course here. In fact, I think it's very recently been re-tarmacked. Very pristine conditions. But you can see the change in surface as they come off the tarmac and onto the brick section of the course. And that's why we're glad it's not damp this evening. That'll be a whole different prospect, not only for the riders, but of course our TV motorbike, which is bringing our great pictures here this evening. We hope you're enjoying this coverage live, of course, from Stockton-on-Tees this evening for the HSBC UK National Circuit Championships. And your race leader, Anna Henderson, cycle team on form on the front of the bunch. And we'll be coming back to the action after a brief commercial break. So our race leader, Anna Henderson, still at the head of the race, and this short section of the course, it looks like she's on her own. It's one of the riders she's lapped there, but that chase still behind. And we're just speculating that it is actually quite a strong chasing group. Rona Calendar and Nikki Juniper making sure that they keep themselves in second and third spot respectively at the moment. But Henderson making this race all her own. You can see that number just flapping on the back of her bike there as she comes around the corner. And we're just looking at the current time gap here, just over 15 seconds separating our leader from the chasers behind. So Henderson, at the moment, still early days, of course, this 50-minute race, but behind her, the riders already starting to look at each other, beginning to consider whether they need to begin to pick up the pace. And this group here, they will see, if they had rear view mirrors, the race leader about to catch and pass them. So a sizable group of riders here about to be lapped by Henderson. So this really is a dominating performance from Anna Henderson of Cycle Team on form. Remember, she's still just 19 years of age, a real sensation who came to our attention really at the start of the year, as we mentioned earlier, with some great performances earlier in the season, and she's continuing to dominate the action here, and real favourite as she comes up to catch this back group, including one of her teammates actually in that group. As she goes past, she'll go right through them and regain her position at the front. Of course, the rest of the field will also have to bypass those riders who are losing a lap. One of the riders there just being passed by our race leader, who is on the right-hand side of the road here. Our TV camera focusing once again, quite rightly, on the runaway leader at the moment in the National Criterium Championships, Anna Henderson of Team on Form. So once again, she is around the top part of the course, and will begin to wind her way back into Church Road and into the back part of the circuit once more. So just welcoming back our Eurosport viewers to the action, and well, situation unchanged. Anna Henderson, 15 seconds the advantage for the Cycle Team on Form rider here. And Group 1, well, this is a group of one, in fact. Henderson absolutely on her own, but clearly this was the tactic she was looking for. Her team manager, no doubt, had a chat with Anna before the start. They probably went into this with a game plan, and I suspect this was it, to try and dominate the race right from the get-go. And despite that concerted chase we've seen, Hannah, from both Rona Calendar and Nikki Juniper, they really don't seem to be making any impression at the moment on the lead of Anna Henderson.
No, you can just see Anna's lead is now stretched to 23 seconds. When it's interesting to see, because there's in the group where Nikki and Rona Calendar have gone back to, there's 3 NJC BME Echelon riders and 3 Team Breeze riders. So it's interesting to see that they're not cohesive and in the chase, and to bring back Anna, because as you just see now, actually Meg Barker there on the front just sprinting out of that hairpin. But they should maybe sacrifice one of their riders to try and help bring back Anna. But at the minute she's able to take her own line. She's not breaking for any of the corners. She can take it all at speed, so she's in the perfect position right now to see Meg Barker, winner of 2 of the Tour Series back in May. We know she's a very strong Criterion rider, so she'll be looking to try and jump across to Anna, hopefully in the latter parts of this race.
Yeah, Meg Barker, of course, taking the first 2 rounds in Redditch and Motherwell this year, and a feat completed also by Nikki Juniper, who won the rounds in Aberdeen and Durham, and then Anna Henderson, our race leader here at the moment, the winner in Aberystwyth and Stevenage. And Stevenage, incidentally, of course, not dissimilar from this one in terms of the finishing section here of the course. So Stevenage is like an elongated velodrome, if you like, and if you disregard the bus station chicane in the section here, this finishing straight here on the UK's widest high street, the high street here in Stockton-on-Tees, is a little bit like an elongated velodrome as well, and it is certainly the same kind of parkour that we saw Anna Henderson dominate the action in Stevenage this year. We were also looking at one of her teammates, Charmaine Porter, a little earlier. Porter came 3rd in a very damp round of the Tour Series at Wembley, in fact the only wet round we had this year, and she too is in good form for Team On Form. But it is Henderson as she once again will approach the completion of another lap, and still the chase continues, but the gap has widened over that last lap.
Yeah, with the nature of the course here in Stockton, Anna will actually be able to see where the chasers are. She won't have to actually look over her shoulder and sort of lose a little bit of time there. She can just look to the side over the barriers, and she can see if they're not in view, then obviously she's got quite a decent gap and she can carry on pressing on, and it'll be a positive thing for her. She's got a tailwind all the way to the finish here, and there's not actually that much in the back straight of the corner that's in headwind because of all the buildings and the turns and twists and turns. So she's actually at a great advantage here with such a strong tailwind, and being out on her own. Well,
as you can see our on-screen graphic there, confirming the time gap, it's at 27 seconds as she goes past the pits area. The team directors, the director sportives, giving the riders some helpful advice. Well, I think Anna Henderson knows exactly what the situation is, and as Hannah said a few moments ago, it is a little bit like a team pursuit here, because you can glance across the track and see the opposition at certain parts of the course here where they are parallel to each other, and just see how that 27 seconds translates the actual distance on the raid. We're into the back part of the circuit, into the Church Road here, before swinging onto Thistle Green, and then back round into Bishop Street once more. And you can see behind, the group who are chasing, they've come together into one large group, and certainly not 44 riders there. We saw a large group being lapped by the leader a little bit earlier, and already the pace that Henderson is laying down at the front of the race is taking its toll on the rest of the riders. One of the riders from Trek Drops there, Lucy Shaw, who took the start today, was 3rd in the championships last year when they took place in Sheffield. Of course, that was somewhat different in character, with a thumping great climb in the middle of it. So, of course, Katie Archibald taking the title on that occasion. But it really is a speed riders course here this evening, and none more so than Anna Henderson, who is dominating the action still, as we won't be too far away from the halfway point in this race. We started bang on the nail at 6 o'clock, 50 minutes of racing in total. And Henderson, well, she went on the attack on lap 2, just gradually eased away, but despite that chase we saw from Callender and from Juniper, at the moment, Team Breeze, who had the weight of numbers on the side in that chasing group, we've seen no real response to the challenge being laid down here by Henderson. If she continues at this rate, it's almost certain she's going to lap more riders before this race is completed. 30 seconds, so half a minute now, the advantage for Anna Henderson. It's beginning to look good, Hannah, for Anna Henderson already.
Yeah, you can just see how strong Anna looks as well. She's not rocking and rolling on the bike. She's really smooth. She's got a great pedaling style, and she's not actually been into cycling for that long. She was actually a former alpine skier, broke a leg in 2015, and she had to make a decision. Did she want to? Well, she did cycling as a recovery for her, and then in 2016 she had to make a decision. Did she want to carry on alpine skiing or turn to cycling? And I think she's made a great decision, especially this year. She's had such a breakthrough year, taking many victories. I think she's had 5 wins already this year. And she was racing, she's been racing abroad. She was racing in Belgium last weekend as well, and she said she had a good race. So, she's one of the breakthrough riders on the British scene, and it's great to see such a young rider. She's only 19 years old as well, just taking this race with both hands, not phased by it, and she's having an incredible ride here.
36 seconds now, and you can see, as we mentioned, she's going to catch more riders at the back of the field, and that's exactly the scenario that's about to unfold here as she leans into that left-hander, that 180-degree turn that takes them out of what is normally the bus station here in Stockton-upon-Tees, and once again onto the high street. And a group of about 6 or 7 riders there are about to feel breathing down their neck. Our race leader, number 12 on the back, on board her Bianchi bicycle, Anna Henderson of Cycle Team On Form. And well, the name definitely is appropriate here, because definitely a wise move to perhaps jettison the skiing and take up cycling, because it looks like she's on course at the moment to take on board her first national championship win, and a deserved one it will be after the great success she's had already this year. And as the riders behind grapple for the minor placings, Henderson almost with ease goes around the outside of that group. It's almost as if she's in a different race here, Hannah. She really is absolutely eclipsing the majority of the field here as she passes once again under the finishing gantry. Yeah,
she's having a storming ride. You can just see those riders who she's lapped just kind of getting in her way a little bit. Not the ideal situation for her to catch them on that hairpin. But coming up to lap riders, it will give her a bit of it's like a bit of the rabbit and the carrot, isn't it? She's got something to chase, and which is good for her. But she wants to try and make sure that she gets past them on a straight, so that she's not being slowed down by them, or them getting in the way. Look, she's been fine and had no problems so far, but just see the lap time there of Anna Henderson, 1 minute 52. So yeah, great timing for her, especially with how technical the course is.
Yeah, it's a fast course though, a lot of quite wide sections despite the narrow and twisty parts as well, and you can definitely get some speed up into the long straight along both halves of High Street. And 1:52 the current lap time for Anna Henderson. You can see the chase group behind still all together. Team Breeze on the front, Story Racing in second slot there, and NJCBME Echelon. Not really seen a significant attacking move from Nikki Juniper trying to close down Anna Henderson. Content to sit there and watch Henderson go up the road, and really no response any of these other riders have got at the moment to the pace of Anna Henderson, and almost as if they've resigned themselves to second place already, still with a good few minutes of racing yet to go. But Anna Henderson absolutely has this race by the scruff of the neck. There she is, that rear view, and once again 41 seconds now. She continues to press home this advantage. And I would say she's lapped almost half the field at least. We've seen riders going off the back considerably here, and just around the corner once more, one or two riders definitely feeling the effort required here. One of the riders from Liv AWOL. Quite a few teams here feeling a very young squad of riders, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. Great to see so much future potential here. Of course, Anna Henderson herself just 19 years of age, and it was great to see at the National Road Championships just a couple of weeks ago, Jess Roberts taking that great win in the women's race. And of course, Connor Swift in the men's, both riders under 23 years of age. We really are, Hannah, in a very good place indeed in British cycling for up-and-coming talent, particularly in the women's field as well here, with rise the calibre of Jess Roberts and Anna Henderson really shining a very, very bright light indeed on the women's peloton at the moment.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic couple of months actually for the young British riders. Jess Roberts' victory at the National Road Championships was just absolutely fantastic. Once again, she's kind of rode a little bit like Anna is now. She wasn't scared to take the race on and be in the race and just commit and see how she could do, and it paid off for her. She attacked with going into the bridging across to Mel Lowther, and once she made it there, it's just give it everything, see what happens, and hopefully she'll stay out in the front.
And not to forget, of course, Mel Lowther was last year's under-23 champion for the road race in the Isle of Man, so it was a great win for Jess Roberts to overcome last year's under-23 champion. But back here at the National Circuit Race Championships here in the heart of Stockton-upon-Tees, this is your race leader, Anna Henderson. She has dominated this race virtually from the get-go, and it's hard to see anyone now being able to challenge the lead that she has. And the great thing for Henderson now, she's been on her own for so long at the front, 47 seconds. She's added another 6 seconds to that buffer she has ahead of the rest of the race. She'll now be so familiar with the twists and turns of this circuit that barring any unforeseen mechanical mishaps, she really has got this race here for the taking, and the battle behind is very much for the minor placings. Of course, the top 3 riders will take away medals, this being a national champion, but you can only have one winner who will ride the red, white and blue HSBC UK national champion jersey for the next 12 months in these criterium racing disciplines. The crowd here cheering Henderson on, And again, you can see almost the length of the run to the line there. The advantage, 47 seconds at the last time check for Anna Henderson of Team On Form. Still getting strong support and cheers from Simon Hauser, team manager of Cycle Team On Form, in the pits as they go through. And you see Simon just holding onto a spur bike there. We mentioned earlier no laps out in racing. Were Anna Henderson to suffer the misfortune of a puncture or something like that, I'm no doubt she'd be put onto a spur bike straight away and launched back into the action. No longer do they try and change wheels or adjust seat pins these days. You have a spur bike for your favoured riders. You just swap machines and launch them back into action. That's the way you stay clear. And with a 47-second advantage, I wouldn't say she can exactly afford to relax, but behind the challenge we're beginning to see develop once more with Team Breeze and NJCBME Echelon, with Nikki Juniper once again coming a little bit clear of that chasing group. But here is your leader once again, snaking through those S-bends and about to make the left turn once again to bring her back onto the high street. So there she goes around that corner using the full width of the road. And as I mentioned earlier, Hannah, this really is about millimetre perfect bike handling skills. You've got to use the full width of the road. As our Eurosport viewers will leave us for a few moments for commercial break. We'll continue to keep the action going, though, for those watching via our Facebook feed. And no doubt Anna Henderson will continue to dominate the pace at the head of the race. So we head into the final third of this National Circuit Race Championship. So Henderson continuing the charge and about to catch a couple more back markers here. Through the line we go once again. And of course we've also got the men's championship later on this evening as well. And as I mentioned earlier, 3 days of action, this 8th edition of the Stockton Festival of Cycling. We're made very welcome once again by Stockton upon Tees. Over the many years we've brought big time bike racing here. And for the first time we've got a round of the Women's Elite Road Series here on Sunday, and I'm sure Anna Henderson will be making her mark on that one as well. She's had great success in that series as well this year, with that great position on the race at the Tour of the Reservoir on the second stage of that, giving a second place overall a couple of weeks ago. So really is a rider who both specialises in criterium racing and the longer distances as well, Hannah.
Yeah, I was just about to say, she's a rider who can do it all. She got third in the under-23 time trial championships as well. So she's a rider who does everything. She does all the disciplines, and she excels in everything. She's she's a standout rider, and she's definitely one to watch. Well, she's one to watch now, but also in the near future. I'm interested to see how she'll get on as she gets a little bit older as well. Well,
if she can continue this kind of form, she has got an incredible career ahead of her, I think, and I'm sure some of the bigger teams will be keeping a very careful eye indeed here on Anna Henderson. Of course, last year's champion, Katie Archibald, is of course a world and Olympic champion on the track as well, but signed for Wiggle High 5 this year. And unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier, she's had a couple of setbacks this year through injury, and we wish her the best for her recovery, but she's not able to defend her title this year. And I think we are looking at the moment of a potential solo victor here. We were thinking maybe it might be a big sprint for the line later, but the way Anna Henderson is currently going, this looks like all her own race at the moment. Once again, we approach the completion of another lap as the crowd continue to applaud her on. And she really has taken to this circuit here. Very technical circuit, as we've mentioned already, but it's proving no hindrance whatsoever to the incredible cycling prowess of Anna Henderson, our lone leader. Last time check we saw, 47 seconds. I'm sure it's still something in that kind of margin as we look out for the chasers coming through the line very shortly.
As we just saw there, it's 9 laps to go. Her team manager Simon Howells will just be giving constant updates of where she is, where the chasers are.
So back into the action here, and Anna Henderson, she's still clear, 9 laps to go, so just 10 kilometres of racing. This is a 1.1 kilometre circuit. So my mathematics, if that proves correct, 9.9 kilometres of racing to go. And time gap, well, that's in excess of 47 seconds. And even though we have seen a couple of riders trying to chase across, there hasn't really been a concerted effort to close the gap down. And that's as much part of the other teams who have not really been willing to try and coordinate their efforts here to chase down Henderson. Such has been a dominance right from the early laps of this race. And we did think at the start of proceedings that Story Racing and Team Breeze would definitely be looking to try and get riders in numbers towards the front of the race to try and dominate proceedings. But perhaps they didn't even consider that Henderson would go quite so early and gain such a significant lead. And you can see NJCBM Echelon, Story Racing and Team Breeze towards the front of the chase group, and still Trek Drops rider in there as well. That is last year's third place rider Lucy Shaw, but they are some considerable distance now behind our leader. And Henderson, as she once again will see the lap board this time, which will give her 8 laps remaining in the race. So this performance by Anna Henderson, she again rolls through the line, 8 to go, and no one else in sight to challenge. There she is.
You can just see a teammate just giving us some encouragement there, Gemma Sargent, and alongside her DS as well, Simon Howells, just encouraging her, telling her the time gaps of how far the chasers are behind. They're also there making sure that if she does have a mechanical or puncture or anything, that they're there with a spare bike. She can straight away have a bike change, do it as quick as possible. I mean, she's got a little bit of time to play with, but it's nothing. It's not much. But touch wood, she'll get to the finish safely with no problems. You've just got to be in the pits ready and waiting just in case.
Well, there's no question this will be a deserved win for Anna Henderson, but still 8 laps to go. Anything could happen, of course, but once again she is up among the back markers here and overhauling the riders from Story Racing there amongst the riders being passed. That's Chanel Mason, who's been overtaken by the race leader as well. And Chanel Mason, no slouch in this kind of racing. She was third at the women's race at the Bristol Grand Prix just a week ago, but Mason off the pace also, and that is as much to do with the incredible speed that Anna Henderson has brought into this race. Just taking on board a little bit more hydration. It's a very warm night indeed here in Stockton-upon-Tees. You can see the sun is shining brightly. We had a forecast of thunderstorms further south in the United Kingdom, but it's got another hot weekend as well for the road races on Sunday. And of course the many thousands of people will be taking the start in the Sportif race here on the riverside here in Stockton-upon-Tees tomorrow. But this evening the heat is all about criterium racing. Still Nikki Juniper, still with a glimmer of hope perhaps of a podium position. EJ Harris just behind her as well for Story Racing. But I think, Hannah, we're looking here at the battle for second place.
Yeah, I think so, and I'm kind of thinking, have these chasers left it too late to chase down Anna Henderson? There's plenty of riders from the same team in there that they could help to pursue the chase, but you can just see they have a few spurts of it being really fast and hard throughout the corners, and then they sit up, look at each other, and that's when you'll see the gaps start to increase now. So we'll go from like 47 seconds, and you might see it, nearly getting to a minute. So this bodes well for Anna, and if she wants to take this jersey. But it's interesting to see that the Team Breeze girls aren't taking it up in the chase.
Yeah, surprising, and I think it was the early attack of Henderson. They definitely would have been a marked rider. I know all the teams are very much aware of what a great rider Anna Henderson is in her relatively brief cycling career. As Hannah mentioned a few moments ago, came from the world of alpine skiing to take up cycling. It's amazing how many of our top women riders in particular have come from other sporting disciplines. Dame Sarah Story, of course, former swimmer. We've had former speed skaters, all kinds of rowers as well. And cycling very much a discipline that riders really do gravitate towards these days, and Anna Henderson, just 19 years of age, as we said, is certainly making her mark on this National Circuit Race Championships. And now we're beginning to see a little bit of a gap opening here. This is Jo Tindley for the team of NJCBM Echelon, one of the most experienced riders in this peloton here this evening. And she is the lone chaser, gaining a small advantage ahead of the group behind. Looking over her shoulder to see the gap she's gained. Trek Drops, they're responding to this move from Tindley. And Jo Tindley, well, she certainly is a rider who you would pick out from those on the start list, have been a potential winner here as well. As I mentioned a little bit earlier on in commentary, she is one of the riders who took one of the early rounds of the Women's Tour Series that's become back in 2013 when she won a race in Stoke-on-Trent. And she's a former junior Omnium champion on the track as well. But a lot of these riders also specialise not only in the road but also in the track racing discipline. One or two mountain bikers amongst them as well. None more so, of course, than Sophie Wright, who, of course, leads the Women's Road Series at the moment. We'll be seeing her in action on Sunday here in Stockton-upon-Tees. Also rides regularly in the mountain bike discipline. But Anna Henderson here, as the laps continue to tick down. And, well, we're running out of superlatives, really, for the ride she's doing here. As you can see, the majority of the riders here as Tindley looks over her shoulder. And she's about halfway, I think, down the finishing straight here. So she can look behind and see the group she's left behind. But as we go into the corner, she still won't have a sight of Henderson, such is her advantage. And it must be quite difficult, Hannah, when you can't see your quarry here. Try and judge your efforts, try and stay clear of the chasing group behind, but try and ride down the rider who's been dominating the action on the front.
Yeah, it's quite difficult, but Jo will know from her team managers and DSs in the pits that, you know, how much of a lead Anna Henderson's got. Jo just needs to keep her head down. She's a very experienced rider. She's been racing since she was a very young child. She's now 30 years old, so she's got so much experience in her, having ridden with her on teams for numerous years. I've known her since I started racing 8 years ago, that, you know, how experienced Jo is, and she's not afraid in the corners on these technical type of circuits. But yeah, I think she just needs to get her head down, and if, you know, all the chasing riders start looking at each other again, you know, she might find herself getting across to Anna. I think it'll be too late to make the junction, but I think, you know, she could see herself hanging on for second place if she can carry on that effort.
Well, I rather think that group that Anna Henderson's passed has been lapped for a second time, though. It's one or two familiar faces when she caught them a little bit earlier on in the race. So this has definitely been a dominating performance by Anna Henderson of Cycle Team On Form. And as the laps tick down here, it'll be 4 to go, I think, when she comes towards the finish line this time. And, well, you can never celebrate until the final crossing of the finish line. But as once again she has distanced this lapped group and finds herself on her own once again at the head of the race, she really must now beginning to savour the possibility of pulling on her first national champions jersey. And of course the great thing about that is you get to wear it for the next 12 months in every single criterium race you ride, right through until the championships next year. And that's always a great fillip for the riders to take on board that national champion jersey. And Henderson, well, she's once again into the corner as the sun continues to shine down here. The shadows lengthening a little bit as the evening draws on. Remember, we've still got the men's race to happen later on this evening, but it'll be a good performance to dominate in the way that we've seen Anna Henderson. Jo Tindley still second spot here for the rider from NJC BME Echelon. And behind her, the chase continues for third place. Team Breeze and Nikki Juniper for NJCBM Echelon in that chase group behind as well. But Tindley still holding on to maybe about a 10-second advantage ahead of the chase group as she comes to the line also. And next time through the line, I think, for our race leader Anna Henderson, she'll just see 3 laps to go. And, well, that really will be the indication that she's on her way to becoming the dominant national champion for 2018. It's been an incredible ride by any measure. 1 minute now the advantage. Remember, these riders are lapping in 1 minute 52 seconds, so she is more than half a lap ahead of her nearest challenger, Jo Tindley.
This is really such an incredible ride by Anna Henderson, and she's not afraid to just keep going. She's just ridden her own race, not looked around, not waited for anyone, and I think she's not wanted anyone to be with her. She likes it out front on her own, doing a solo race. She can take her own line and ride her own race, take the corners at her own speed as well. As you can just see, Jo Tindley getting across to her. She's probably got about 12-second advantage now over that big chasing group. And it'd be interesting to see if they actually bring Jo back, or whether they kind of just let her sit out there thinking, oh, well, you know, that race is gone, the race for the win's gone, so we're kind of not bothered, we'll just race for third now. It'll be interesting to see if Jo can hold on to that effort. We know she's in good form. She was racing in Belgium at the weekend, and she nearly took a victory in the Lotto Belgium Cup. So, I think this is the best season that Jo Tindley's had ever in a racing career. She's just enjoying it more, and it speaks. The results have spoken for Jo.
Well, Hannah, I think the team with the weight of numbers in that chasing group is still Team Breeze, and of course they've already got one national championship on their roster this evening with this year, I should say, with Jess Roberts, of course, taking that national road title. I'm sure Jess would dearly have loved to add another national champion jersey to her collection, but Team Breeze also involved in that chase now for second spot, as once again Anna Henderson is out of Knowles Street and back onto the high street, that 180-degree left-hander, the little jink to the left and the right. This is part of the finishing straight that was used at the National Road Race Championships back here in 2016, when we came in the opposite direction up the high street to pass the town hall. Great days racing there, and it's great to see another national championship here being contested on the streets of Stockton upon Tees, and what a dominating performance it is here from Cycle Team On Form's Anna Henderson. with a 1 minute and 1 second advantage ahead of Joe Tindley, who still leads the chase. Tindley's advantage just a handful of seconds. We haven't seen an official time gap, but it is she's certainly within reaching distance of the riders behind. And she's still got her teammate Nikki Juniper, who would dearly love to get herself once again onto the national champions podium, the only former winner in this race. But as the laps tick down, 3 laps to go now for our race leader, Anna Henderson. And, well, she can almost afford, I hate to say relax, but she can, I think, have a degree of confidence now that she has got this national title. And don't forget, she has been in the action right from lap 2 when she eased away from the front of the race. And I think the move was missed by all of the other teams. They let a danger rider go. And now with more than 1 minute and just 3 laps of the circuit to go, closing that gap down will be an impossibility, I feel, for the chase group behind. Joe Tindley still stuck in no woman's land, as it were, between our leader and our chasers, halfway between the two. But if she stays there, of course, a silver medal. And second will be her prize for the night. And behind her, of course, in the main field, still the battle for the 3rd spot on the podium. 3rd overall, unless Tindley is caught in the closing couple of laps. They've not given up yet, the chase here. You can see just getting out of the saddle, coming around that corner and trying to close down on second place rider Tindley. But there's the gap that Joe has got ahead of her pursuers. So our leading 2 riders with a considerable advantage as the peloton come through, also with 3 laps to go.
Yeah, just 3.3 kilometres for Joe. It's just basically like an individual pursuit effort now. Just flat out see what, hold on until the end. I think Anna will be fine.
Well, it's worth remembering, of course, we did mention this earlier. We both flagged up the fact that she was the bronze medalist in the under-23 time trial championships here in the northeast of England just a couple of weeks ago. And this really has been a time trial, if you like, for Anna Henderson at the front. She has literally ridden away from the rest of the field. She had no one with her at any point during the race. She's gone through lapped riders, but no one to share the effort with her. This has been 100% Anna Henderson. And there's no question it will be an incredibly deserved win. Just 2.2 kilometres now separate Cycle Team On Form's Anna Henderson from her first ever national title of the National Circuit Race Champion of Great Britain here in Stockton upon Tees this evening. A dominating performance by any measure, and all credits to Henderson. She really did lay her cards on the table very early in this race, and they've all come up aces for her so far.
We saw she was keen for the race win at the very beginning of the race. She spent about 1 or 2 laps just riding on the front of the peloton, keeping out of trouble. I mean, you'd say, oh, she's wasting energy there, but actually, I think she was just making, looking for her moment to attack, to go solo. And, she's not been with anyone since, and yeah, she's ridden a perfect race. She just needs to make sure that she doesn't get too complacent thinking, I've got this in the bag, even though she's got only, around 1.5 kilometres now to go. She just needs to make sure that she keeps pressing on, keep focused, don't lose focus in the corners. That's when the mistakes happen. She can't afford to make any mistakes, especially after this ride today.
Yeah, you're right, Anna. We've seen 1 or 2 dramatic moments in closing rounds of criterium racing. So, as I mentioned earlier, it's never over until you have crossed to the finish line for the final time. But it's definitely looking good here for Anna Henderson. She's on the opposite side of the circuit to the finishing line. And next time round, of course, the sound that every bike rider loves to hear in a race like this, the bell, which is the internationally recognised sign that you've just got 1 lap to go. And that'll mean 1.1 kilometres of this course here in Stockton upon Tees, which has been absolutely dominated by Cycle Team On Form's Anna Henderson. She'll know every single stone set in this course by the end of the evening. And she has had every opportunity to use the full width of the course. 1 minute and 4 seconds now. The advantage ahead of second place chaser Joe Tindley. Further a few seconds to that next group chasing for 3rd place. But here she comes with 1 lap to go. The bell lap. This will be a lap of honour, a victory lap here by no doubt at all. Anna Henderson is on her way to the national title here in Stockton upon Tees. Less than 1.1 kilometres to go. And what a great win this is going to be for Anna Henderson.
Yeah, with hopefully no mishaps on this last lap, and it'll be absolutely fantastic to see her take the victory today, especially after her rides all this year, actually, all her victories. Tonight was just an outstanding ride. A rider who combines full-time university at University of Birmingham, studying sport and exercise, science, and she's combining also racing on such a huge calendar as the Tour Series and the Women's National Series. So it's outstanding ride tonight.
Well, there's no question, Hannah, this has been an education for the rest of the field, because they allowed Anna Henderson to gain that advantage. No real concerted effort by the teams, arguably with stronger riders in depth than Anna Henderson cycle team on form here. But Henderson, she has increased her advantage lap by lap, 1 minute and 4 seconds. She is into the final lap here. She will be able to see across the opposite side of the high street here in Stockton upon Tees, the finish line. And she will be applauded home by the crowd who've lined the barriers here to celebrate the first national champion of the evening. 1 minute and 5 seconds now. It's an academic chase behind Jo Tindley, will be hoping to hang on for second spot, but Anna Henderson will lean into the final 180-degree turn off the crown of the bend, and she will head now to the finish line and a famous victory. It is going to be an incredible solo win. Cycle team on form's Anna Henderson, just 19 years of age, dominates the race right from the start, and 50 minutes later she lines up for the finish, celebrating already, hands in the air. Your national champion is Anna Henderson, cycle team on form. What an incredible win by Henderson, all on her own. We'll look out now for the battle for second place. She's been greeted by one of her teammates here running across the road. That's Gemma Sargent, to congratulate Anna Henderson. Gemma not finishing the race, but there is your race winner. What an incredible ride. But let's not lose sight of the fact, still 2 podium positions to be decided. 1 minute and 5 seconds was the advantage for Henderson. She came through the line, those continuing celebrations. But here we go, Jo Tindley looking good for second spot now. She has maintained that advantage she had. She just opened that lead ahead of the chasers behind, and they couldn't close her down. So Jo Tindley, the last few corners for her also to secure the silver medal and second place overall in the championship. It's been a great ride here by Tindley for the NJC BME Echelon team. She's out of the saddle just to get the last few moments of effort into those legs. As she comes over the line, she looks over her shoulder, she's got the gap. She can feel confident that the second spot on the podium will be hers, and there's going to be a bunch sprint for third place here as Tindley lines up for second place. Checkered flag being waved by the Deputy Mayor of Stockton. But here is the only sprint with, and a big crash in the final corner. Oh well, that bunch that were contesting third place came to grief on that final corner. And well, they've been around this course so many times, but when you're in the sprint and all those riders around you are trying to get that third place across the line, well, we hate to see things like that in the closing stages of a race. But Hannah, drama, as we said, often occurs in the final lap, and some riders come into grief there who may have been in contention for that third place finish.
Yeah, what a shame coming into the finish. But as you know, they've ridden this course for 45 minutes now. You can see there's the chicane with 100 metres to go until the finish line, and it was just touch of wheels, one rider wanting to come around the outside, and yeah, all it takes is 2 riders to collide with each other, and then it brings down multiple riders, and it's a real shame to see that happen in the closing lap.
Well, I'm here now with Anna Henderson, and her entire team has just jumped on her as she came over the line, screaming a few obscenities. Apologies if anyone did hear that here. Emotions running very high in Team On Form. Anna, a truly dominant performance. Your gap was enormous. Was that your game plan going in, or did you just attack on instinct?
Oh, absolutely not. It was not the game plan to have to TT for over 40 minutes. But no, I just knew that that one was a bit of a dive bomb corner, and I was like, oh, see what happens, see who follows. And nobody followed. So, yeah, just it was a case of just staying on top of the pace and, yeah, keeping going, pushing through the pain.
And of course, you won bronze in the Under-23 national time trial as well. So you know exactly how to time trial. I suppose you didn't expect to do it here tonight, but how much did that experience pay off tonight?
Well, I would say I'm still a bit of a rookie to the old time trialling, but I think that actually pays benefit, because I don't really know what the pain is to come. So yeah, I just carried on, and all the team were shouting, encouraging me, and yeah, that's really spurred me on.
And formerly an alpine skier as well. Jo Tindley there just congratulating you. Formerly an alpine skier, how much has that helped you, especially on a technical circuit like this with cornering?
Well, exactly. I saw the lines and I was like, well, the safest place to be at the front, and I can take my own line through there. So yeah, I just gave it a shot, and yeah, it paid off.
And what does it mean to you, national champion?
Oh, I mean, it's unbelievable. So yeah, I just have no words.
And I'm going to let you go recover and celebrate with your team as well. Congratulations. A truly stunning performance here from Anna Henderson for Team On Form. Dominated the field from pretty much start to finish. What a night here for the women's race in Stockton.
Well, just feeling for those riders who came to grief on that final corner, walking across the line. Wheeling her machine will confirm the top 3 for you, so no question the second place went to Joe Tindley, who avoided the carnage that erupted behind her. And of course Anna Henderson by a margin of more than a minute, also gaining the advantage. And it looks like one of the Story Racing riders who came to grief there in that final run to the line. But it takes nothing away from that incredible win. You saw Laura catching some words there with Anna Henderson. And she's still not quite got the hang of this time trial lark. Well, you get a bronze medal in the National Under-23 Time Trial Championship. I think she has, but really a rider with strength in depth in all of the cycle disciplines we see her take part in. Looks like E.J. Harris, one of the Story Racing riders who came to grief, one of our favourites as a potential sprint winner here. And looks also as that Nikki Juniper also being assisted. Juniper was in the battle for third place. And, well, let's wish those riders who did come a cropper in that final corner are okay. The continuation, of course, of the celebrations for Anna Henderson, but just reflecting there, Hannah, on that incredible performance we heard from the winner there, Anna Henderson. That wasn't the plan, but she definitely has dominated the race. And let's have a look back at the action that unfolded during that 50 minutes of action for the Women's National Circuit Championships. So you saw that little recap of the action, but it was a one-woman highlight really at the end of 50 minutes of racing. Anna Henderson will be crowned the HSBC UK British Cycling National Circuit Champion for 2018, and she did it in absolutely dominant fashion, attacking in the early laps, gradually increasing her advantage lap by lap, and crossing the line more than a minute ahead of the second place finisher Joe Tindley of NJC BME Echelon. And Hannah Walker, who's been alongside me through that 50 minutes of action, just reflecting once again on what was an incredible performance from Anna Henderson.
Yeah, what an absolute fantastic performance by Anna there. Real textbook. She just took the race on. She didn't wait for anyone. She didn't look behind wanting other riders to come across to her. Yeah, she just took it all on herself, and yeah, she was absolutely fantastic. She was able to take the corners at her own speed. She was able to ride her own race. She didn't have to play any tactical game with another rider who was with her, playing the cat and mouse game. It was just all on her. And yeah, she looked focused and relaxed throughout the whole race. She looked solid on the bike as well. And she didn't actually look that out of breath, actually, which just surprised me after such an effort. It was absolutely fantastic. And fantastic to see a young rider, 19 years old, take the win here in Stockton. She's relatively new to cycling, so it's a massive victory for her and for her team, Cycle Team on Form. I know I was talking to Simon earlier, and he was saying that the team are very humble, that they also like to have fun within the team, but they work hard, and I think they've got a great race ethic and work ethic within that team. And year upon year they've gone from strength to strength, and this year has been a breakthrough year for that team. Since they started just a couple of years ago, so it's fantastic for them to get such a big win under their belt, and hopefully they start getting a little bit more recognition for the talent that they have produced.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I think the big teams in the women's cycling discipline will have a very firm eye on Anna Henderson. There she is once again, just celebrating that win as we replay the action. Joe Tindley in second, and that big crash for the battle for third. You saw one of the riders just looked like they lost the wheel there and slid across in front of those behind. It looks like Team Breeze may have swept up third place. We yet to see confirmation of the rider who crossed the line in third place. Was between the NJC BME Echelon rider and Team Breeze. Well, as soon as we can confirm that, we will confirm it for you. We've not actually seen a graphic to confirm that top three. But we'll be bringing you the podium presentation very shortly, as you can see on the big stage here, and it will be Anna Henderson will be front and centre, who will receive that red, white and blue jersey of the British national champion for 2018. Good 50 minutes of work there as British cycling president Bob Howden steps onto the podium ready to present the prizes. Don't forget there's more action here on the streets of Stockton upon Tees. The men's race coming up a little bit later. And that's another great battle that will unfold on the streets of Stockton. And of course the women also going into action on Sunday, as we mentioned earlier, for the next round of the Women's Elite Raid Series. But I think you can see the riders very, very pleased indeed here for Anna Henderson, one or two of her cycle team on form teammates. And there is confirmation, Hannah, of our third place rider who's about to receive the bronze medal.
Jess Roberts there, our current national champion and under-23 road champion as well. She'll be delighted with that. She's had very hard week on the track preparing for the under-23 European Championship, so she had a double day on the track yesterday and she wasn't really expecting much tonight, so it's great to see her on the podium tonight getting bronze. She'll be delighted. Yeah, she managed to negotiate her way through that carnage that erupted on that final corner and secured the bronze medal. Silver for a great ride. Let's take nothing away from Jo Tindley. She picked her moment to attack that group she was in. Of course, Nikki Juniper was perhaps the favourite for NJC VMA Echelon, but take nothing away from Jo Tindley. As Hannah mentioned, she's having a great year this year. She's going to put the medal on the right way around as well, and she'll be treasuring that one. But here is your national champion. And the broadest smile in Stockton upon Tees this evening belongs to Anna Henderson's cycle team on form. She'll receive the gold medal and, of course, that all-important national champion's jersey, the red, white and blue stripes that signifies the British national champion. And, well, she will be pulling that jersey on and will also receive the gold medal from the president of British Cycling, Bob Howden. And there is the podium. And what a great race it was. Anna Henderson, the national champion. Second for Jo Tindley. And third for Jess Roberts. Her second time on a national champion podium in the last couple of weeks. Of course, the national road champion already. And the bronze medalist here this evening. And a magnificent trophy also to be presented to our race winner, Anna Henderson, by the Deputy Mayoress of Stockton, Lynn Hall. And, well, what a great podium it is. And Anna Henderson, she'll savour that moment, Hannah, for the rest of her racing career. Yeah, what a fantastic ride by Anna. She'll get to pull on those national stripes in every single criterium that she competes in for, one whole year. And what an honour, and how proud she must be to be able to pull on those stripes. Yeah, in every crit that she does, it's absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I'm sure she'll wear it with pride. And it's fantastic. A great podium, and delighted for Jo Tindley after many years racing. This is her biggest result of her career. And she spent the last couple of years racing for Nikki Juniper, so it's great to see her get her opportunity to have a victory, or a victory in herself. I think she would call this. She'll be delighted with the silver medal. You can just see how. I don't think she can quite believe it. She's delighted.
Yep, they're the three happiest riders in Stockton upon Tees at the moment. But of course, there can only be one national champion, and of course, as befits every national championship podium presentation, it wouldn't be complete without the shower of the bubbly. So this will be uncorked and liberally distributed amongst the photographers lining the front of the podium here. And look at that, she's won that race as well. Anna Henderson has already got the bubbly uncorked, and a deserved celebration for a worthy national champion. What an incredible race we've seen for the HSBC UK British Cycling Women's National Circuit Race Championships. Your race winner, Anna Henderson cycle team on form. Second place for Jo Tindley of NJC BME Echelon, and third place for Jess Roberts of Team Breeze. What an incredible race it was right through. And those three were our top three at the end of 50 minutes of racing.
You can just see how exciting women's racing has become in recent years. It's absolutely fantastic to see. It's just constant attacks, and it's great that, to see Anna, such a young age, take the race on and hold on for victory. I think it's a very exciting race tonight, and it was great.
And there is the final confirmation for you. As if you didn't know, our top three confirmed. Fourth place, we're going to Gabby Shaw of NJC BME Echelon. So two riders in the top four. Abby Dentis, the best of the rest, in fifth place ahead of Annabelle Simpson of Track Drops. Beth Crumpton in seventh place. Rona Calendar, the winner just a couple of nights ago at Otley, in eighth. Jenny Hull, ninth for Team Breeze. And Rachel Langdon of the Grey Goat Mobile Bullseye, the favourite team name of the right. She finished in 10th place overall. but 2 minutes behind. So you can see how much Henderson dominated that race, winning by 1 minute and 5 seconds ahead of Tindley, and Tindley herself just a handful of seconds ahead of Jess Roberts, who just managed to stay upright in that battle for third place, just ahead of Gabby Shaw.
Just see all the men's teams now starting to warm up. Their race starts at 7:45, so they'll have a nice hard warm up. This is Team JLT Condor here. They've been having a very strong season once again, with Tom Moses there just in the centre of the 5 riders, winner of the Tour of the Reservoir just a few weeks ago, so we know he's in good form, and he had a good race on Wednesday night at Skipton Grand Prix as well, so many of the riders in this team wants to watch.
Well, we've got Laura Winter, who is down amongst the riders at the end of that action. She's already had a quick word with our winner, Anna Henderson, and I'm sure she's tracked down a couple more riders to have a chat with us. You can see the JLT Condor riders riding up and warming up for the men's race that comes up a little bit later on this evening. But we will try and have a chat with some of the other combatants in the action in the Women's National Championships.
Thank you very much, Carl. Yeah, I'm joined actually by James McCallum, a former rider and former winner of the Circuit Championships as well. So you know all about the prestige and the honour that comes with a national title here.
Yeah, it's massive to pull those stripes on, and you remember it for the rest of your career. When I did it, it was a long time ago. The sport has evolved a heck of a lot since then, but I tell you what, Anna's going to have those stripes on for a full year now. The question is, will On Form be able to keep a hold of her? Because I'm telling you what, the World Tour beckons for this young lady.
Let's talk about that ride, because it was absolutely stunning. She dominated from start to finish, and I asked her post-race, was that your plan? Was that the game plan from the outset? But she said, no, I rode hard and no one came with me, and I never wanted a time trial for 40 minutes. But that's exactly what she did, wasn't it?
I don't think anyone wants to put themselves in that position, to be honest, because that is the hard graft. But you know what? In these events, you have to speculate to accumulate. You're not going to get anything. You can't win a bike race without attacking, and that's exactly what she did today. Put everyone on the back foot, and you know, before you know it, you're out of sight, out of mind, and then you suddenly got the stripes around your chest.
And she's not been in the sport very long at all. I'm going to now also bring in Hannah Walker, who, of course, was the commentary for that race. What an incredible performance from Anna Henderson.
What a stunning performance. That was absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I spoke to her before the start. She said she wasn't really expecting anything from tonight. She said she didn't feel that great with her form. And, well, she was quite wrong, hey. It was absolutely fantastic performance, and she dominated from start to finish. And yeah, also a great ride by Jo Tindley in the closing kilometres, you know, attacking and holding on for silver there. So yeah, fantastic night of racing here in Stockton.
And I was saying, just before we brought you into our little makeshift studio here, that Anna hasn't been cycling long. I think we need to really emphasise that actually she is so new to the sport. But she was saying, she's just here as well, she was saying that her alpine skiing experience helps her with cornering. We're going to bring her in now and she can answer the question herself. Brilliant performance from Anna, and I'll tell you right now, she stinks of champagne, which is exactly what every bike rider post-race wants to be like. Anna, we're just talking about your alpine skiing experience and how much that has helped you in racing like this, where cornering is so important.
Yeah, I mean, people often ask me, you know, how do you go around the corner so fast? And I'm just like, I don't really think about it. I just like, you know, as I used to point my skis down the hill and just go for it. So I point my bike around the corner and just go for it.
And coming into tonight, did you ever expect, firstly to win, I'm sure you hoped to, but to win in such an audacious fashion?
I mean, I had a little bit of fire in my belly after a mishap at Nationals, us being caught up in a crash and stuff. So yeah, I just went for it and it paid off.
And Anna, coming into the sport as well, did you ever believe that this would be possible in such a short amount of time? You've come in from another sport, so you've got pedigree, you've got class, and you've got the mindset of an athlete. But here you are with a national title, your first ever national title.
Oh, I mean, I can't even put it into words, to be honest. I mean, I've been national champion before, but to do it in a different sport is, yeah, it's amazing.
And Hannah, you obviously watched Anna's performance and watched the race. What did you make of the way she attacked, the way she took it on from the start?
Yeah, absolute pure class. did everything perfect. You actually didn't do anything wrong. You're on your own, but you're able to take all the corners, everything, all the bends. You weren't breaking. You were taking the perfect line, and you just kept so composed and focused throughout the whole of your effort. I think it was just absolute, pure class, and you weren't panicking, and you didn't get complacent into the finish when you knew your gap was more than a minute, and you didn't get complacent. You just carried on pushing forward, and absolute fantastic. Delighted for you.
That's a good point. How much did you know of your gap? I'm sure in the pits they were shouting.
It's quite hard actually, because you often have, you have my team manager Simon, shouting, it's 20 seconds was actually 40 seconds. So you kind of, but then my dad helps, and there's loads of people around the course, encouraging, giving me a time check. It's actually really helpful everybody around the course. So I just kept going. So.
And what does this mean to your team as well? Because it's a team that's really, emerging this season as one to watch.
Yeah, I mean, we were new last year, and we just have loads of fun, and we don't take ourselves too seriously, and we just, some of us are really new to racing, some of us are very experienced, so this experienced ones guide the newbies, and we just have fun, and it's good.
And James McCallum made the point that you're not going to be around the domestic scene for too long, and World Tour teams could be beckoning, could be snapping you up. Is that something you ever thought would be possible within a couple of years of starting cycling?
Well, I mean, I've always been an ambitious kid, a little bit too ambitious sometimes, but you never know. I have really, really big dreams, so we'll just see where it takes me.
And how did you maintain your effort? How did you judge it? How over that time? Because you didn't lose on your lap times; they were more or less the same the whole way round. So how did you gauge your effort?
Well, I mean, I just stuck with my power meter, and I set myself to a power, and this time I actually had my power meter working on like Aberystwyth. But it was just stuck myself that power, and if it hurt, I was like, well, I'm still putting out the same power, so just keep going.
And after a mechanical at Otley Grand Prix 10 days ago, and then obviously getting caught up in the crash at the National Road Race, how does it feel now to get that victory and pull on a National Championships jersey?
Again, just no words. It's amazing. I mean, to do it in front of all these people and in a great town, so it's great.
And Jimmy, you know what it's like. You know what it's like to pull on that jersey. I know it was a long time ago for you. Cast your mind back, if you can, to Anna's emotions right now.
I think the best way of me describing it was that I felt like someone thrown loads of petrol on me and set me on fire. I did not know what to do with myself. I was bigger in disbelief because it was literally Otley. So you know the course. It's one of the greatest criteriums you're going to do in the UK. One of the most nostalgic events as well. And for me, to be a bit of a rookie and come out and win those stripes, I literally drove home like 4.5, 5 hours with my jersey on, and I still could not believe it to the next day. But that's what you've got to look forward to, so wish you all the luck with it.
Yeah, you've got a lot to look forward to, I'm sure, in the coming weeks. Also a word on second and third as well. Joe Tindley finishing second for NJCBMA Echelon. And also a word to Nikki Juniper, who I saw sobbing over the finish line because she was one of those unlucky riders who actually went down. Jess Roberts as well, National Road Race Champion, third. Did you expect to see that podium?
I mean, Jo, she's been around, she's amazing, she's always there, and for her to see her get a medal is really, really amazing. And then Jess, she's always strong. I mean, you see her go up the road, you really, really have to follow her because she won't come back. And really, really strong girls out there tonight.
And how much are you keeping an eye on the men's race? Have you got a favourite for later?
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know many of them, but it's always fun to watch them because you learn from them as well because they go so fast around it, and you can see how they corner, see how they take it, and it's just really fun to watch.
And also, looking ahead to your season, what's next on the horizon for you? Next race, next target, next goal?
Well, definitely just keeping with the National Series, and then we're in the Lotto Cup as well over in Belgium. So, just a few UCI 1.1s, 1.2s, and see what we can get into and see, any stage races, then, that'll be it.
And for you, is it a case of targeting those wins or still gaining that valuable experience? It seems to me the former at the moment, that actually you're now experienced enough to really put yourself out there as one of the top contenders.
Well, I mean, it's still quite hard actually because I'm still so new to racing that, I mean, yes, I'm getting these results, but I'm still actually learning how to race. So, I mean, I'm just learning as I go and just learning every second of every race.
Anna, I'm going to let you go. You're on your feet and you smell of champagne. It's lovely. But we are going to let you go, clean up, recover, and also be with your team as well. So many congratulations to you. Well done. I'll let you just come out of shot here. Now, Hannah and James, we've obviously got this men's race fast approaching. We were talking before about our picks for this race, and we've got names like Tom Pidcock, of course, defending champion Connor Swift, national road race champion John Mould as well, JLT Condor, crit specialist and third last year. Harry Tanfield as well, of course, local, relatively local to the area. He won that breakaway on stage one of the Tour de Yorkshire, one of the most stunning rides I've ever been lucky enough to witness. Just some of the names there of the contenders we have. Your picks, if I may.
You can go first.
I'm going to go for a rider who's been very, very consistent in the crits this year. I think he can also be a rider who can get into a breakaway, he can attack, and he can win the big bunch sprint. So I'm going to go Matt Gibson from JLT Condor.
Yeah, Matt's a very good shout, actually, as well as obviously the defending champion Tom Pidcock. The issue you have that it is the national championships, and it's a very different dynamic to any other race. Not as much team-orientated racing, it is an individual championship. Do those two cancel themselves out, and does someone sneak away? That's always what's got to be in the back of your mind, and, you know, ultimately, this is Tom Pidcock's race to lose. He is going to be national champion until we cross this line in about an hour or so, so he'll be out to defend that, all guns blazing.
That's a very good point, though, actually, is that the World Tour riders at the National Road Race really marked themselves out of the race. Everyone was looking at them to make the moves, and it allowed a continental rider for Madison Genesis, Connor Swift, to escape up the road, and perhaps he wasn't one of the danger men to mark, and he went and stole it, basically, from under their noses.
Yeah, I think we also have to remember that only 48 hours ago it was Tom Pidcock and his teammate Rob Scott who were off the front of the Skipton Grand Prix. Young lads, yeah, they recovered quickly, but how much did it take out of them? You know, Rob Scott was up the road pretty much for the whole of the race, and Tom came across, you know, a sizable gap, and you can't do that without, you know, consuming a lot of energy. So, yeah, they have got youth on their side, but sometimes the experience of the older riders kind of... I spoke to Tobin Horton, for instance, from Madison Genesis, and he was like, it'll be interesting to see what those boys are up to, because we were riding around with the nationals in the back of our mind all the time, so it's going to be a tough one to call, to be honest with you, but I think it's a very, very open race.
Matt Gibson is a very good shout, of course. He's currently leading the circuit series as well in the British domestic calendar. We are going to go off air just for 15 minutes or so. We'll be back at 7:30. Before that, I just want one word on the finishing straight. Me and you walked it earlier and said, this is technical, this is nervy. We saw a crash in that women's race as well on the final lap, of course, when they're coming to the line at the quickest speed they're going to all race. Where do you see this straight really coming into play in the men's race?
The thing is with the straight is there's that much happening on it, and the biggest issue I was going to come across is that these guys and the girls as well, I think the biggest issue was that they hadn't came on the straight at the speed towards the finish at all during the race. There's a slight little lip as we dip down past the town hall, we take a right and a left shimmy through a little chicane. That, a little bit of air when you're going full gas, that can make you high side, which is exactly what happened in the women's race, so you've got to be switched on to that.
Absolutely, and best wishes to all the riders involved in that crash, and we hope to see them back on the bike and on our start line very soon indeed. Well, from me, from Hannah Walker, from James McCallum, we are going to pop off for a little break. We'll be back at 7:30 for the countdown to the men's race, which starts at 7:45. So from us here in Stockton, see you very soon. Hello and welcome back to the 2018 HSBC UK National Circuit Championships. Well, I'm right here in the very thick of the action there. Take a look behind me. There is the start line of the National Circuit Championships, the men's race. We've already seen Anna Henderson of Cycle Team on Form absolutely dominate the women's race. But also we saw a couple of the ladies come a cropper on this technical finishing straight we have here, which includes a little dip and rise up to the finish line here, something the men are going to have to look out for. And indeed, Anna Henderson wanted to make sure she was out in front, dominating the race with a lead of over 1 minute. Brilliant for her, her first national title, and a truly stunning performance. But now it is time for the men's race. The very good and great of British cycling have won this one. So take a look now at some of the past winners of this race. Adam Blythe, Russ Downing, true Yorkshiremen there, all the grit and determination of a Yorkshireman needed to ride on the roads just in the county south of here. We also have on that list as well, of course, last year's winner, Tom Pidcock. What can he do tonight to defend that national title? It's all to play for out here on the roads. And of course, the prize tonight, that red, white and blue iconic jersey, the national jersey, a prestigious award. The riders get to wear it for the next 12 months at every circuit race around the country and indeed around the world as well. It is a prize worth fighting for, and fight is exactly what these guys behind me are going to do. And that jersey, of course, was on the shoulders of Tom Pidcock, twice world cyclocross champion, and indeed turning his hand to crit racing as well. Here in Sheffield is how he won it last year. Well, what an audacious ride. What an incredible ride that was last year from Tom Pidcock. Harry Tanfield also up there as well. As I mentioned earlier, of course, he won stage 1 of the Tour de Yorkshire from a breakaway that we all thought would get swallowed up by the World Tour peloton charging him down, but it wasn't. Will we see another breakaway tonight make it to the line first here at the National Circuit Championships in Stockton? We are yet to see. John Mould, of course, 3rd last year and 3rd in 2016 as well. He told me just a little bit earlier, so it's going to be very interesting to see if he can step up once again on that podium. But JLT Condor have a very strong team indeed. Ian Bibby is here, of course, a past winner of this event, and so is Matt Gibson. He's currently leading the National Circuit Series overall here in the UK. He's the leader of that series after a 2nd, 3rd and 3rd in the first 3 rounds. So it's going to be intriguing to see if he can maintain that form, that consistency that has put him in the leader's jersey once again this year. Of course, he also won that series last year as well. So a real crit specialist and just one of the many options JLT Condor have here. Earlier on, I spoke to a few of the contenders, a few of the favourites up for tonight, including, of course, Connor Swift, newly crowned road race champion. Can he make it a double? We are yet to find out. But also, watch out for Tom Pidcock, defending champion. Have a listen. Tom, winner in 2017. What's the game plan to defend your title here in Stockton?
There isn't one really. Just just see how the race goes, and I think other teams will be looking at us quite a lot. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to predict how crit races go. You know, it could be crashes, could split, anything. So yeah, it's think on your feet really.
What would it mean to you to wear the stripes for another 12 months?
Yeah, it would be pretty cool. I mean, I always like doing some crits, and yeah, hopefully next year I'll still be able to be riding some. So it'll be nice to be still in the stripes.
And all eyes will be on you. They'll be on Team Wiggins as well, especially after, of course, Skipton, where you finished 1-2 alongside Rob Scott. Is that pressure for you, or do you relish that?
I don't think it's pressure. Well, it's not pressure on us, but I think it's more. I think he might have decided how other teams will ride, but I think we can use that to our advantage.
Best of luck tonight, Tom. Thank you. John, 3rd in 2017 in Sheffield at the Circuit Championships. What's the plan for you tonight to make sure you step up onto that podium again?
It's going to be an aggressive race. I think that'll suit me the best way possible. So, yeah, well, let's take another step up. It would be nice. I got bronze in 2016 and 2017. So, yeah, even I think I'll take a gold over a silver. But, yeah, one way or another.
And of course, you've got Matt Gibson within the JLT Condor ranks as well. Is it going to be a 2-pronged attack for your team?
I think we've got quite a lot of guys, 7 guys on the start line. We could all win. Yeah, just making sure we got the numbers there. You know, there's a lot of guys with it being a one-off race. You never know what can happen. So could be a winner you haven't really thought about all year pop up and take the win, and they take the jersey for the next year. So yeah, it's a lottery in some ways, but I think we're all up for it.
And talk to me about the course as well, because it's a really technical final straight to the line. How are you guys going to play that?
Well, it's not really any rocket science, you know. Make sure you're facing that last corner, because it twists and it goes right and left and across the little paving stones, the pedestrianised area. It's, yeah, whoever's into it first normally holds on. So, yeah, I think we're all going to be trying. So, best place to watch. Anyway, going into that last corner if it's all together.
Best of luck. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, Connor, last time I saw you, you were crying your eyes out in Northumberland, having just won the National Road Race. Can you do the double here in Stockton tonight?
We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, back the other week it was quite an emotional day, but I mean, if I could pull it off again tonight, then that'd be pretty special. I mean, everyone's racing tonight and everyone's wanting the win, so can't be content with the top 10 or a podium. It's all out for the win for sure.
And of course, a recent winner of the Wales Criterium Open as well. So, crit form going well?
Yeah, I mean, both on the road and obviously in the crits, the legs are there. So, to have that win the other day, it gives good confidence booster for tonight. I think the National Crit Champs are going to be a race a little bit different compared to the Elite Circuit Series. So, I reckon it'll be harder, but I'd say that suits me more and the team more potentially. So, yeah.
And let's talk about the course as well. Where do you see the decisive moves being made, and where do you see the action really starting?
Yeah, so there's a couple of, they're not purely dead turns, but there's a couple of slow turns. So anyone that's kicking out of those can cause a bit of carnage behind, because it's just like an elastic band effect. So I think early on it's going to be a case of who's at the front and who's setting the pace. So it's just a case of just making sure you're in that top 10 and you're limiting your losses out of those corners, and or maybe causing pain for other guys. So I definitely think the slow corners, they're a crucial part in the course, and maybe someone can, well, maybe it's a course to clip away tonight and not leave it down to a sprint. So we'll have to wait and see.
And finally, winning is a habit, so they say. How much momentum do Madison Genesis and you have right now?
Yeah, 2 wins on the bounce and then a podium spot at Bristol. It's the confidence is high, the motivation is high, and the ball's rolling. So let's keep it going that way tonight.
Best of luck. Thank you.
Cheers.
Well, yes, there you go. You've heard from just some of the contenders for today. Of course, Connor Swift and Madison Genesis. What a few weeks that team has had, and that really exciting form is going to be a really important thing for Connor Swift here. That team has got so much momentum coming into this. Look out also for George Pym and for Tobin Horton as well, both crit specialists, both of whom have been up thereabouts as well in the top 10 in the rounds of the circuit series we have seen so far. If you're just joining us, this is Stockton, this is the National Circuit Championships, and we are live here on the start line, ready to go for the men's race. 1 hour of racing and then 5 laps for the men. If you missed the women's race earlier, well, you missed Anna Henderson. She dominated from start to finish. She went out there ahead. It wasn't her game plan, and she didn't attack on instinct. She went hard, and no one could go with her. She wanted to get to those corners first, because this is a technical circuit. As they leave the high street here, they'll have 4 right-hand turns, pretty tight ones as well, and then 2 pretty much dead hairpin bends as well, one of which leads into this finishing straight we've got here. There is a little dip as well, just past my cameraman here, a little dip, and the riders then have to pop up here to the finish line. And indeed, in the last lap of the women's race, when they really attacked that at speed, we saw, unfortunately, a couple of riders hit the deck. So they are going to have to be careful and really take that corner well as the pace hots up coming into the finish line here on Stockton High Street. The crowd's well up for this race, well up to see who will take this national jersey. Can we see Team Wigan's Tom Pidcock defend that title he won in 2017 last year? Or will we see somebody else take it? Can Connor Swift do the double? National Road Race Champion, can he become the National Criterium Champion as well? He, of course, won a round of the Circuit Series, the Wales Open Criterium most recently, from a breakaway with John Mould. So what can that JLT Condor rider do? There are many options here. Some thinking it may be a bunch sprint, others perhaps favouring a breakaway, or certainly a smaller bunch of riders as they come down this finishing straight, and indeed into those tight pinch points at the very top of that hairpin. They are going to want a much smaller group. And if you listen around me now, you're going to hear the banging of the boards. The crowd's getting well up before the start of this race, and it is just moments away now. You can feel the nerves and the tension here, because for many of these riders, this is exactly what they've been training for most of the season. This is what it all boils down to. The national champions jersey, the red, white and blue stripes, iconic, prestigious, the chance to wear them for 12 whole months. It's going to be an intriguing race, and very often at nationals, you never quite know what will happen. We've listed some of the favourites there, some of the guys who've been at the very top of their game. But certainly within nationals racing, anything can happen. As we saw at the Road Champs, underdogs took the spoils at the end of the day. What will we see here on the roads of Stockton at the National Circuit Championships? Your commentators tonight will be James McCallum and Hannah Walker. And without further ado, I'd like to now hand over to them to take you through all the action of the men's race.
Well, a massive thank you there from Laura at trackside. I'm James McCallum, and I'm joined here with Hannah Walker, former professional. Hannah, it's going to be an exciting night tonight in Stockton and Tees, isn't it?
Yeah, we're going to see some fantastic racing. We've just seen the women's race, brilliant win there from Anna Henderson, and if that race was anything to go by, I think the men's race is going to be absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, the thing with these races is obviously they can be a bit of a lottery because there's a lot involved in these. It's not as simple as road racing. It's a very, very different discipline. You have to be able to think on your feet quick, you have to be able to handle your bike, and you have to ultimately be able to sprint out every corner, of which tonight we have several.
Yeah, it's a very technical circuit here tonight, and a big key thing as well in criteriums is recovery. If you can't recover quick, then yeah, you've got no chance in being able to stay with the front leaders. But yeah, tonight, very technical circuit, multiple road surfaces. They go from cobbles to paving stones to tarmac. Yeah, we've got to be thinking tonight.
And the great thing we've actually got tonight is the weather is actually on our side. We had a small bit of rain just earlier on this afternoon. As you can see on screen, we've got 21 degrees, cloudy with sunny spells. The sun has literally just gone down over the back of the town hall, so we can now see the chief judge there standing looking at our clock, just checking that we're going to be rolling out in time. But you can almost cut the atmosphere with a knife here. There's a lot of tension on this start line, so you see riders just doing last minute checks, checking their tyres, checking their helmets, checking their gloves, all the things that just help them relax. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. It is 1 hour of action. It's going to be straight from the gun, no neutral laps, no laps out. Ultimately, the fastest and the wisest wins.
Yeah, and who will be the wisest at the end of the 1 hour of racing? It's a race. It's a very weird race, isn't it? It's you have all these criteriums throughout the year, the Tour Series and the elite crits. But ultimately, this is the one that everyone wants to win. So anything can happen. We've seen that in the past.
Absolutely. We touched on this when we were interviewing the new female champion, Anna Henderson, earlier, that it is a very, very dynamic. As we now see the Deputy Mayor of Stockton-on-Tees, Lynn Hall, raising that Union Jack to let the riders get ready. That flag will drop any time now, and it is race on. You can see the tension here. Everyone's looking at each other. We've got 83 riders on the start today. It's going to be a big old bunch. Not every single one of them is going to fit down this gap in about 2 laps time. It's going to be one big long straight line. As we see, we are now off. Straight away, sprinting, we can see Connor Swift in the centre there, Madison Genesis. We've grown accustomed to seeing him in his national champion's white jersey with the stripes on it, but tonight he's back in his good old team colours.
Yeah, you can just see the rider there on the front, Connor Swift of Madison Genesis. 22 years old, a young rider, but fantastic win he had there at the National Road Championships up in Stamford. So one to watch tonight, but I think it'll be one rider that everyone will be watching, so might be a little bit difficult for him.
Yeah, I think as Laura hit on earlier, there's a lot of momentum within this Madison Genesis team. And right away you can see this bunch is already in one straight line. The bunch itself, if you've got 80 riders, give or take 2 metres per rider, that's going to be the best part of 200 metres from front to back. And when you're going through technical sections like this, you've got cobbles, you've got hairpins. The person at the front is the one pushing the button. If you're 50 riders back, you've got no chance. You're at the mercy of the accelerations. You can see now Connor Swift and a look over his shoulder, just see if there's any damage, settling in the nerves, just seeing how he's feeling.
You can just see the riders at the back of the peloton. They've not even gone into that 180-degree hairpin, as Connor Swift is already halfway down the back straight, and you can just see the long line of riders behind. And for the riders to move up from the back of the peloton, it's going to take a lot of energy of them. You're going to be wasting a lot of energy in the legs just to move up, just to make it to the front. Whereas the riders in the first part of the race, the top 10, they're having a comfortable ride and just riding it smoothly. Yeah, and we can see on the front here we've got Tom Moses here from JLT Condor. Now they've got a few absentees tonight, some very, very important riders. First of all, Ed Clancy is not here, Ollie Wood is not here either. They are both getting prepared for the European Track Championships coming up in the next couple of weeks, but they've also not got former and multiple champion Graham Briggs in their start line today. Yeah, it's surprising not to see Briggs on the start line, but he's a very valuable member of the team, and a great criterium rider. Also, they've not got Jermaine Burton. He's come back after a bit of a break within cycling, but so they've got 4 riders not taken to the start tonight. So how will that give them a negative stance on the racing tonight? Yeah. In a weird way, it takes them from having 9 potential winners down to 6 or 7, which, John Herity is probably the master at getting a team together and getting them to work as a unit. However, tonight we have to always remember, it is an individual championship. However, it's very difficult for these riders to switch mindsets. It's very, very team-orientated sports cycling. You're always looking after your team leaders or the strongest rider on that day. You're trying to use team tactics to establish gaps. However, tonight, that kind of changes. You've got different mindsets. Every single rider will be trying not to chase their teammates,
but every single one of those riders on that start list wants those stripes.
Yeah, and it's the coveted stripes that everyone wants. You get to wear the national championship stripes for one whole year in every single criterium that you take part in. And you know what a great victory for you if you were to pull on those stripes. And how proud must it be during your career? Obviously, you know, Jimmy, you've won it back in your day, so you know how it feels. How does it feel when you pull on those stripes and you can pull it on in every criterium?
I think you've obviously got immense pride, because on your night you have been the best rider to turn up on that day. But you can only ride the race. You can only race the racers who're there. You know, for me, it was a huge honour to wear that jersey. And you know, whoever's going to win tonight is gets the chance to wear that jersey. Events like circuit races, they are the champagne of bike racing. I think you're in city town centres, right beside the crowd. Lots of action. You feel like an absolute rock star for like 1 hour. So what's better than being the British champion rock star of cycling? So let's get back to the action anyway. That's enough of me reminiscing about umpteen years ago. So at the front we can see obviously very, very controlled. No one's prepared yet to really throw their hat into the ring. But here we see Mosey's now bringing the pace up.
You just see there's riders from each team represented in the front here. Jack Puller there in second wheel behind Moses of Canyon Iceberg. Also Chris Latham of the One Pro Cycling Squad. So yeah, most teams represented, but it's where will the elastic split? Where will the riders start to lose the wheels, and the front group will form?
I think we're looking at the most important part of the course here. It gets very technical. You come off with some really fast, smooth, nice kind of swinging right-handers into another right hairpin, left hairpin across. Changes of surface as well are very important tonight. There's cobbles there. Luckily it's not wet. If it was wet, you would be seeing a totally different bike races. Now we're starting to see a lot of jockeying for position on the right hand side. Local lad from Canyon Iceberg, Mr. Harry Tanfield, looking after 2 or 3 of his teammates right there. You see Jack Pillar on the right hand side, just sliding in the wheel behind his other teammate. It's also Chris Latham on the inside there from One Pro Cycling, wanting to be at the front of this tonight. You have to be in the front of Criterium Racing. And as you can see here, we've mentioned already, Harry Tanfield looking over his shoulder, just seeing what damage is happening behind. If there's any gaps, or he senses any weakness in anyone, he's going to pounce.
Yeah, Harry, a very, very strong rider. He's a local lad as well, lives around here. Silver medal at the Commonwealth Games in the individual time trial, so we know he's got the talent to hang on if he wants to go solo. We've seen him multiple wins this year. He took a fantastic victory on the first stage of the Tour de Yorkshire. So we know how strong he is, and he can maintain his effort for long periods of time.
Yeah, there's a lot of pedigree in that Tanfield household, that's for sure. He's obviously got a younger brother, Charlie Tanfield, who has not taken to the start line tonight. Again, another rider has blasted onto the scene, but I hear there's also a younger Tanfield as well, so we're looking forward to seeing him getting himself involved in the racing. As we can now see, Tanfield's obviously, he's here tonight. He wants to be in the right place, sticking at the front, but we've also got to remember and mention, just 12 months ago, he was second in the British Championships behind young Tom Pidcock. We have not seen Pidcock at any point yet. He's been pretty invisible.
Yeah, Harry will be definitely hungry to win this title tonight, but Tom Pidcock playing a very smart game, just staying up towards the front but not actually showing his face. He took a second place on Wednesday night at Skipton Grand Prix behind his teammate Rob Scott, so we know they're in good form, but how much is that race taken out of their legs? Will they recover in time? You know, how will that play today? But we know Pidcock on such a technical circuit. You can just see him actually there in the back of your screen with the red shoes on. That he's a very, very good technical rider. He's world champion in cyclocross. So on a technical circuit here, yeah, his bike handling skills are absolutely second to none.
Yeah, it plays definitely to his strengths. We've seen a nice big attack there. Obviously, Canyon Iceberg have got a plan tonight. They want to be aggressive. They want to be on the front foot. And we see young Charlie Page here taking over from his teammate Harry Tanfield as he slides into second place here. Tanfield, you can see right exactly here, it's a perfect example of why you have to be at the front. One big long straight line, gaps appear on left, right and centre. It looks like there may have been potentially an issue at the back. We can see Pidcock's made it across this gap just at the back. There may have been potentially something happened, a bumping of shoulders, but there has now been a very easily established gap there in that bunch.
Yeah, riders want to be watching now, not to let that gap grow too big, because as soon as you let that gap grow too big on a course like this, that'll be it. You won't be able to chase it back with such a strong group of riders here in the front. You can just see how well represented that Canyon Iceberg are. You know, the leading top 3 riders there: Harry Tanfield, Charlie Page, and then Jack Puller.
Yeah, they're all over the front. They're in the right place, as we said so many times already on the show. speculation and accumulation rings a bell here. If you're at the front, you're speculating, but you're also accumulating. It's a very, very interesting way of riding criterium races. You have to kind of expend a little bit of energy, be at the front, make it hard to save the energy in the long run. You do not want to be one of those riders who's now come around that hairpin. As we can see, the bunch snaking in the background. It's got to be covering the best part of 300 metres, and when you're on a 1.1 kilometre course, it will not be long before the front of that race can see the back of it.
Yeah, criterium racing is very, very hard, and it's all about knowing where to position yourself and making the efforts at the right time, not to waste energy in pointless parts of the criterium on the course. It's all about conserving your energy, but also using it at the precise moments.
Yeah, everyone's kind of having their, you can see right now, it's a lot of posturing. The race hasn't actually kicked off yet. Ultimately what's going to happen here is they're going to try and fire a few shots, see who's interested. But you know, a team who hasn't done anything yet, Madison Genesis, they will have a plan tonight. They've got Connor Swift carrying that momentum, being the national champion. Can he do the double tonight? That's the question.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. He's good at everything, Connor. He's good at road racing, criterium racing. He won the Abergavenny GP, the Welsh Open Criterium, just a week ago, so we know he's in good form. That was also a very technical circuit, but also Johnny McAvoy there up front.
Yeah, we can see there's a big split here. There's been definitely something that's happened in the background. You don't get that kind of gap because the racing hasn't really been on fully yet. Maybe potentially a small crash, maybe a chain's been dropped by another rider to allow that gap, but that just shows you, and it emphasises why it's so important to be at the front end. You have to be there, you have to be able to react, and there's nothing worse than being reactive in these kind of races. You have to be proactive, which is exactly what Canyon Iceberg is doing tonight.
Yeah, you can't wait for another team to make the move. You've got to kind of make your own race, and Canyon Iceberg taking it on from the very start here. They're actually playing a very good game here, putting the pace on, so they're riding at tempo, but the rest of the peloton at the back, they're having to sprint out of all the corners, waste energy, and they just want to whittle this peloton down to as few riders as possible.
I'm telling you what, I would not like to be in the back of that picture right now. You see the riders frantically trying to get across these gaps, a lot of breathing, big mouths wide open at the back there, as we can see that gap now to another Madison Genesis rider trying to come across. I think that's Isaac Munday trying to get across with his other teammate Richard Hanley. There has definitely been something happening at the back. We can see here again, Tanfield on the front, being quickly followed by Chris Latham again. They two are, I would say, they're potentially just sitting on the back of each other. What do you think, Cannon?
Interesting position Harry Tanfield's just taking there with his hands on his bars as if he's in a time trial. Not quite sure if commentators will be very happy with that.
It's a bit of an unwritten rule, isn't it? You should really have your hands on the drops or the brakes. But you know, he's on the front end. He's got the ability to actually see where he's going and pick his line. But so far so good for Canyon Iceberg. They're all out of trouble. They're in the right place. I think we can see roughly in five from the front. I would say that's looking like Tom Pidcock. Yep, yeah. Definitely Pidcock. He's just monitoring things. Of course, tonight they don't have as many riders. I think they've only started with about 3 or 4 riders tonight, so they're kind of on the back foot right away. But Pidcock's doing the same thing he did 1 year ago. He's riding almost like he's invisible. He'll just be looking, letting everyone take the race to him, and he'll just be popping across the gaps, very similar to the tactics that he used just 48 hours ago at Stockton.
Yeah, he's a very smart bike rider, and he's so young still. He's still only a first year under 23, so to do what he's done already in his career is absolutely fantastic. He won the National Criterium Championships last year in Sheffield as a junior, which is absolutely incredible for a junior to be able to be up against these full-time professionals, very experienced pros as well.
It was unbelievably impressive last year, that's for sure. I remember sitting in this very spot calling it, and it was one of those things where there was a bit of inevitability about it. He rode the race, nobody really paid any attention to him. All the bigger teams were chasing each other. He kind of just floated around, made sure he was in the right place when he had it to be, showed an unbelievable amount of experience for such a young head. But obviously that young head has got a very experienced racing brain in there as well. You're not multiple world champion across multiple disciplines without some degree of talent, and obviously having great tactical nous.
Yeah, and what a great rider to come up through the British ranks as well. And you know, he's going to be, well, he's tipped to be the next big thing, which, you know, from the wins that he's had already is absolutely absolutely true. As you can just see there, Tom Moses of JLT Condor just leads it through that corner.
We're still waiting for a bit more of action here. It's all a little bit, everyone's looking at each other right now. No one's really too sure, but the one thing we've got to remember is that every lap we go round to, we're getting one lap closer roughly gapping, I'd say it was 140 to 150 per lap consistently right now. Before you know it, we're going to be seeing 5 laps to go, and then suddenly it's going to be all hell's going to break loose. It's going to be full on, as we can see here. Moses is having a little look over his shoulder. No one's actually really that willing to take this up now, and it's going to be an absolute firecracker at the end if they don't start racing soon.
Yeah, and they kind of want to start getting rid of some of the back riders, make the group smaller. I'm pretty sure that on a course like this, that riders will want the group to be around 10 to 15 riders. They don't want it to be a big group, as you saw in the women's race. Even in that small group, we had a crash coming into the finish, just a touch of wheels, and it kind of ruins everyone's race. It's Chris Latham there, One Pro Cycling on the front.
Yep, Latham's looking very, very isolated at the front there, but he is doing the right thing. He's at the front, he's looking after himself, putting himself in that proactive position which we've mentioned already, looking after himself. As we say, the front is the best place to be in circuit racing. You can see right now the gap again is going out at the back, and it looks like the string has been really, really stretched on that last back straight as we now pop into the home straight. Again, Chris Latham still on the front, but we can see just on the right hand side of the bunch with the white arms and the red shoes, the defending champion, Mr. Tom Pidcock.
It's interesting to see that last year the average lap times was 1 minute 42 around this 1.1 kilometre circuit. Already they're lapping at 1 minute 38, so it just shows how much faster, 4 seconds faster than last year. So it just shows, the speed that these riders are going.
Yeah, and now it's Jacob Scott from the One Pro Cycling team coming to the front, lending some support to his teammate there, Chris Latham. Again, using the same rules are applying. As you see, the last lap was a 140, Hannah, so they're not hanging about. To be honest with you, you're looking at this and it's just going fast. Everyone's just keeping the pressure on. There's not been any real meaningful attacks yet. No,
and I think people are kind of keeping the powder dry as well. They don't want to put in such a big effort too early on as to ruin the race, in the latter stages. But the pace has been on from the very beginning, and it's One Pro Cycling still in the front there, Jake Scott. He's also coming into form, had some good results recently, and been in the thick of the action in the last few criteriums.
Yeah, the question is it because it now is the National Championship and it means a little bit more to people? As we see now, Scott is not wanting this pace to go down. He wants to keep this line strung out to give himself the best chances and his teammate the best opportunity to be in the right place. As you can see on the left there, Tobin Horton just sliding up the inside from Madison Genesis. He wants to be close to the front. He's on the back of Harry Tanfield there. We know Tanfield's incredibly motivated tonight. Silver medal last year. He wants the stripes and he wants to get it on home turf, that's for sure.
Yeah, he'll have a lot of family and friends here in the crowd supporting him, and it's an incredible feeling when you've got family and friends and people shouting your name from the sidelines. It just gives you that extra motivation, and especially you're being on home turf. It's I don't think there could be a better feeling, and Tanfield will be very, very motivated for it tonight.
You can almost sense the nerves in this bunch. Everyone's just looking at each other, testing each other, just seeing, trying to get a glimpse behind the glasses, trying to look at the body language of each other to try and second guess how each other's feeling. As you can see now, Johnny McAvoy slid to the front, having a good look over his shoulder, just seeing what's happening. As we see Mosey's on the shoulder there on the right hand side of Chris Latham in the white top, as we see Tanfield sliding through the middle.
It's interesting, you can just see the nerves on the faces. Everyone's racing really nervously. When you watch them in the Tour Series, for instance, the racing is full gas, but it's almost very, very relaxed. It's when there's something like a National Championships jersey on the line, the dynamic of racing just changes, and it'd be interesting to see when the first real move starts to go. As you can already see, Harry Tanfield just pushing the pace out of that 180-degree hairpin.
Tanfield, big acceleration in the saddle across those cobbles. And now, as you can look down the line here, this is stringing out once again. It's not going to be long again, Hannah, till that elastic snaps. If you're 20 to 30 riders back here, you're in potentially a lot of trouble.
Yeah, we've got around 35 riders in this front group here, so you can just see the gap at the back of that group. It's already 11 seconds. Can you close that gap from that 36th rider to this 30? You can see how big the gap already is. It's too much of an effort for people to close the gap, and it's kind of race over for them.
Exactly. You can't just go 70k an hour. There's not many people who can do that on a bike, especially when you've got someone of the calibre of Harry Tanfield on the front. You're kind of up against it, which again accentuates the whole need to be at the front. You need to be at the front, looking after yourself, giving yourself the best opportunity to get the right lines round the corners, save energy. You mentioned earlier recovery. Recovery in these events is very, very important. It's high octane, it's high energy, and it's high speed.
riders who race on the track usually do quite well in these criteriums. They're very used to something. It's quite similar to a points race. They're very used to having this full gas effort, then ease off a little bit, recover, full gas, ease off, full gas, and yeah, this is kind of what a criterium's like. Kicking out of all these bends. If you actually calculated how many times you kicked out of a corner or these hairpins, you're into the hundreds.
Exactly, and that's going to have a wear and tear on your body. It's all about energy as well. You need to make sure you've consumed the right amount of energy before the event, make sure you're taking energy on during the event, but most importantly as well tonight, it's not as warm as it has been, but it's 21 degrees out there still. We've seen just the other week at the Bristol Grand Prix, Harry Tanfield actually overheated in the heat down there, so it's going to be important to keep your eye on A, positioning, B, where your teammates are, your tactics. However, you've also got to make sure you're fueling your body.
Yeah, I was there at Bristol Grand Prix, and it wasn't a nice sight to see someone kind of suffering from heat exhaustion. But it was absolutely, it was into the 32 degrees there in Bristol, and you've got to be drinking almost a bottle every 20 minutes just to keep the fluids going in and replacing what you've lost.
Luckily, it's not as long here, obviously, and a bottle during a race is very, very difficult to drink. As we can see, the nature of these courses are as we cross up the finishing line again. Harry Tanfield stringing it out again. I think we're getting a very common story every lap we come through here. Tanfield wants to be on the front foot here. He wants to be pushing, and he wants to be dragging it out of everyone else. He wants to be pulling and calling the shots. He wants to be dragging one pro to chase. He wants to be putting Tom Pidcock on the back foot. He wants to be making sure that Johnny McAvoy's expending energy. I would not be surprised if they've got a trump card up their sleeve.
Yeah, definitely. You can actually see the top 5 riders. It's been the same every lap. Harry Tanfield, Chris Latham, Johnny McAvoy, Tom Moses, and you can just see Tom Pidcock is putting himself into the mix. They're not moving out of position because Harry Tanfield's setting such a fast pace. No one really wants to take it up. They're happy to let him go, and
Interesting there. We had young Tom Pidcock kind of make a move up the inside of Chris Latham there, maybe thinking about positioning, maybe thinking about putting in an attack. I'm not too sure, because right now, essentially what's happening here is it's a drag race. Harry Tanfield's just going to the front, keeping the pace high. As we can see now, got a small gap on Chris Latham, who in turn has got a small gap again on Tom Pidcock. As we look down the line, there's holes in this line everywhere. The elastic's snapping left, right and centre.
Yeah, and you can just see the faces on the riders, sort of 10, 12 riders back. How hard it is for them. They're close to the front of the peloton, and they're still, starting to suffer. So you can just see Tom Pidcock runs wide there. He's all right.
I think he's just foxing, I think it's called. Finessing. He's just having a look around to see who else is willing to race. Again, he's not going to get any help though, because the guys behind him, it's his race to lose. He's the defending champion. It's on his shoulders to retain those stripes. And you know what? He's going to give it the best shot he can tonight.
Yeah, and I think he's quite capable of defending these stripes as well. He's such a classy bike rider, and he's a young rider, so he's got the speed, he's got the finesse, he's got everything. He's got great bike handling skills, and I don't think he's afraid to race his bike as opposed to overthinking it a little bit.
Yeah, one thing is for sure, he is not afraid of anybody. He's got all the skills. He's almost a complete bike rider. He can go around corners, he can sprint, he can climb, he can do everything, which is why there's so many people now chapping on the door of Tom Pidcock, want them to be part of their teams, and not only in the sport of road, but he rides for Telling It Padea in cyclocross. And when you've got a person like Sven Nys banging on your door, that just tells you the calibre and the class of this young rider. Yeah,
and straight away once he went into the under-23 cyclocross scene, he was winning and beating riders that have been there for the last few years, winning, and he's beaten them already. So it just shows his class and his talent, and how good he is all round as a bike rider. I mean, he won the World Time Trial Championships as a junior. I mean, it's absolutely, he's a complete all-round bike rider.
Yeah, it's not until you see an athlete like that being so dominant across so many disciplines, you can't help but feel he's destined for greatness. He's ticking all of the boxes. He's doing exactly what is required, but he's doing it at such a young age. That's what's the most impressive thing. He has been racing bikes since he was a nipper, mind you, so he's got plenty of experience. But again, Hannah, you're JLT Condor. How are you going to beat Tom Pidcock?
I mean, JLT Condor is a team, all winners. How are they going to come together tonight to take the victory on the night? You can just see John Mould there on the outside with the yellow glasses on, just moving up. Yeah, he's got bronze medal 2 years in a row, 2016 and 2017. How is he going to beat him? I think first of all, he's kind of got to be in the front. I think, you know, he needs to be into the last corner in first position, and to be able to, I think, well, he's moving up now. You can see he's not happy with the pace that's being set. He'd rather set his own pace and, you know, being able to take his own lines rather than having to be in 10th wheel, kind of scrapping for the places, which everyone is scrapping it in. From 10th to 15th place down, everyone's scrapping to get towards the front.
They're not only scrapping, but some people are actually scrapping to stay on the same lap period. As we can now see, we're starting to pick up back markers, which is exactly the point we made at the top of the show. When the bunch is in one line, if you're at the front, pressing that button, the person at the back is give or take 300 metres behind you, and it's not going to take much for that elastic to snap. As we can now see, looking on screen, it looks effortless, but I can guarantee you right now, it's absolute pandemonium in that bunch.
Yeah, I can guarantee that the pain in these riders' legs right now is second to none. You just see there John Mould starts to put the pace on with it. Got a Canyon Iceberg rider on his wheel. The Canyon Iceberg team are absolutely all over this race tonight.
Yeah, it looks like Charlie Page again. He's already been on an attack tonight already, followed quickly and swiftly there by Chris Latham from One Pro Cycling. And of course, right on the back of that, we've got a rider, Johnny McAvoy from Madison Genesis, followed by could be Joe Holt, I think, from 100% Me. So the most important part of this is that every team has to be represented. If you do not have a rider in any of the moves, the onus is on you. The weight is on your shoulders to bring that gap back, and no one wants to be in that situation, do they?
Yeah, you always want to be on the front foot, and you just want to always be in the right position at the right time. And I think you can just see now as the JLT Condor team, they all start to swamp the front of the peloton here. It's Tom Stewart, by the looks of it now, takes the lead.
Yeah, it's looking a bit conspicuous, this, isn't it? One thing for sure within the JLT Condor team, John Herity has this innate ability to somehow create riders who've got a sixth sense of where their teammates are. As you can see, suddenly they all appear at the front. Team tactics are now going to start coming into play. The question is now is what are they going to do? They've got the numbers. Should they be the ones starting to make the attacks to try and break this up? What do you think?
I think being one of the best teams in the country, and especially in the criteriums, I think they can't find themselves napping. They can't find themselves complacent, knowing that they're one of the best teams in the country at this type of discipline. So I think you've got to make the race and be in the right position and do kind of what Anna Henderson did in the women's race. Race it as a normal race. I know you've got the National Championships jersey on the line to win and to wear for the next 12 months, but I think you've also got to race it as a normal race and not overthink it too much.
Yeah, absolutely. Ultimately, it's the same as every other race you do per week in, week out. However, the National Championship, having the opportunity to have those stripes on your back for 12 months, it does add a little bit more pressure in there. People do, as you say, overthink it, which then the question is, do the riders cooperate? As we see Mouldy here making a big attack, and straight away his teammate Matt Gibson sits up straight in the wheel, but on the right hand side it looks like Charlie Page coming over the top from Canyon Iceberg.
You can just see as they come now into the finish straight, Mould will be hoping that at least one rider will come with him. He's coming into some good form. He was second at the Abergavenny Grand Prix just a week ago.
You can see the alarm bell straight away in the bunch though there, Hannah. 100% Me, they know they need to be there. Madison Genesis, they know they need to be there. One other person who needs to be there is Mr. Tom Pidcock. He has to get across here, he has to be vigilant, he has to be on the front foot tonight, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. You can just see there the 100% Me rider, Matt Bostock, trying to get across to them. But are we going to see something that we saw in the women's race where the chasers kind of look at each other? It's a hard race. They don't want to be the ones having to chase the leader. So will their gap start to grow? Yeah,
it's almost like, as some people say, a phony war. They kind of look at each other and they go, well, I'm not doing it. You do it. You're the bigger team. You're the bigger rider. It's your responsibility to do it. But it's great now to see that the racing is starting to kick off in earnest, that's for sure.
Yeah, as we see those leaders just come back together, it's Charles Page of Canyon Iceberg just immediately attacks out of that 180-degree hairpin. It's Matt Bostock going with him with another JLT rider.
I think it's Mould again, straight on the back. He's want to be on the front foot, that's for sure. And as you can see here, he's giving it a bit of gas along here, is Charlie Page. He's wanting to make sure that he's in the right place, and yeah, it is Mould. Mould, nice recovery from his attack, obviously, sliding into third place, followed by Tobin Horton and then Johnny McAvoy, both from Madison Genesis. We can see here there's a sea of blue at the front. JLT Condor have got a plan, and I think Mould basically started it. Here we go, on the left hand side, Tom Moses. It's time to attack, I think.
Yeah, a rider who's was predominantly a road racer. They started to come really good in these criteriums this year especially. It's great to see him be able to transfer his skills. He used to be a cyclocross rider, of course, so it's great to see him sort of transfer those speed and the bike handling skills over to the criteriums now.
Yeah, and on the front there, Madison Genesis, we have the current British Road Race champion, Connor Swift. Can he do the double tonight? Which means he will be riding in a white jersey all the time for the next 12 months. However, straight back to the front again, the massive engine, the man who is local, Mr. Harry Tanfield, back to the front, back to controlling it. JLT have gave a little bit away in that last couple of laps, Hannah. They obviously want to break this race up. They've got the numbers, they've got the riders. As we said, it's a team of winners. And these guys know what they need to do to win bike races, that's for sure.
Yeah, they just gave it a go then to try and split the race and sort of create a little breakaway, but they saw it didn't work, so it's kind of back to the drawing board now. Just keep riders up the front. It's Tom Moses once again, fourth wheel, just coming out of that hairpin.
So we can see here again, Tanfield keeping the pressure on. He wants to make sure this breaks into bits. The only way Tanfield, I think, can win this tonight is alone, Hannah. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so, and I think especially into that last little the hairpin with 250 metres to go, and then it's you've got the chicane about 100 metres into the finish. It's a little dip down through a water fountain. Obviously, it's not on tonight. They go through the water fountain, little chicane, and then up to the finish. So if you're carrying speed over that, the bit where it drops down over the water fountain, if you can just see it now, take air, you could find yourself losing your front wheel. But I think it's a technical finish coming in, and I think Tom Pidcock will know how to handle something like this.
Yeah, it's something that Pidcock's got plenty of experience with. He's used to throwing a bike around on mud, so on the concrete, no problem. But now we're going down to the pit to Laura, who's now with JLT Condor manager, John Herity.
Thank you very much indeed to James and indeed to Hannah as well. Yep, joined by John Herity here. How's it going for JLT Condor out on the road?
Pretty good, pretty much as we expected. We had to wait for everybody to get back up to the front because it wasn't a gridded start tonight because it's the national championships. But now Ian Bibby was the last one to get up there now, so we've now all got 6 of them all up there in that front group, which we're happy with.
So 6 in that front group. I suppose this is a good headache for you guys to have. How on earth do you manage a team where any 6 of those could potentially win tonight?
That's a great question, and a frank discussion before the start of the race, basically. So we have a meeting before every race and a debrief after every race as well. Some of them are quite heated. Tonight's was not as heated as I expected, and we came to a solution in the end. We do have at least 4 guys that can win tonight for sure, and we've got a little plan in place that hopefully one of them will do so.
John, come on, can you give me any inkling as to that plan, as to some of those names? I'm sure John Mould, Matt Gibson are 2 certainly up there. Ian Bibby, Tom Moses as well?
Well, I think, all those 4 can potentially win. I mean, you can work it out for yourself. 3 of them will need to win on their own. 1 of them can win it in a sprint. So, I think that will be the tactic. We'll try and get riders away that in a group that they're capable of beating those guys in a sprint. If it all comes back together again, we'll work for Matt Gibson.
And we're seeing Harry Tanfield on the attack. Pidcock is up there as well. What do you make of those rivals out on the course?
Tanfield is going extremely well. Certainly is this evening. I'm hoping he blows again like he has been doing the last couple of races. But he's a very, very talented rider, and we can't give him an inch, to be honest. We've got to make sure every time that he attacks that we're right on him.
Well, as the riders shoot past us, we will go straight back to the action with Hannah and first James.
Very interesting conversation there from the pit side, Hannah. John Herity giving a little nugget of what the plan is tonight, but obviously keeping his cards very, very close to his chest at the same time.
Yeah, keeping it caged. He's not giving it away. Of course, he's in the pits there. He doesn't want to tell Laura there what his plan is with the other team managers so close to him. So I think what he said is the riders that we'd expect to be up there. Matt Gibson, especially after his very consistent season so far in 2018.
He hit on a very, very important point there, and it's something we've tried to get across about how important the British Championships is, about the passion and how heated these discussions can be before any major race. I mean, the British Championships, as we said, there's a little bit more kudos in there, a little bit more on the line. Everyone wants a piece of that jersey, but only one rider can have it. You've been a professional cyclist, you've been in those rooms. What can those discussions be like between teammates? And how does a team manager moderate and control all the different egos in that room?
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, riders have got to put across to each other in that meeting and the team with the team manager and the sports director their ambitions for the race. And obviously, once a few riders start as we just see now attack from, I think it looks like Connor Swift, the British Road Race champion, making a move from Madison Genesis here.
Yeah, and it's a big move, and he's pulling away here, taking Chris Latham with him, and straight away Tom Pidcock on the back of that. He knows he cannot let the British Road Race champion up the road. Straight away on the back of that, those three, we've got Matt Gibson there from JLT Condor covering it, followed quickly by Mr. Harry Tanfield. In fact, there's Ali Slater sitting there in 4th place, followed by big man Harry Tanfield. It's looking really, really like the race is starting to light up here.
Yeah, it's great to see after over half an hour of racing already. The action starts but no one's letting this break go. Everyone's cagey, everyone's not wanting anyone to get away. It's you just see there Dan Tullett, a mountain biker, just for 100% me in the red, just coming on the inside.
Ultimately, it's a wearing down process. The first 15-20 minutes in any kind of the races are always hard, but most people can deal with that. It's when we start hitting into that second and third of the race, last sort of 10 minutes, that's when the fatigue really, really starts to show, which is why it's so important to be in the right place as often as possible.
Yeah, definitely. You can just see there, it's already 20 past 8, so we've done 35 minutes of racing. The legs will be absolutely stinging. It's been flat out. We're still lapping at 140, 141 on this 1.1 kilometre circuit, and with the 2 hairpins that you have to sprint out of each time, it is a wearing down process. We've only got around 28 riders in this front group, and it's around 30 seconds to the group after that. So you can just see after 83 starters, the race is just being whittled down, and it's just a wearing down process.
Yeah, absolutely. And the man on the front doing the damage is Connor Swift from Madison Genesis. He's been pretty persistent with this. Is he the kind of rider? He's very versatile. Is he the kind of rider who can win from a bunch sprint, or does he have to get away, Hannah?
I'd say for Connor, he's got to get away. I mean, you can see his teammate there, Tobin Horton, just pressing on at the front. Very good sprinter, but he also can win from breakaways. But for Connor, definitely, I think he's got to win from a breakaway, a small group. Ideally, I think on his own, like he did at the British Road Race Champs.
Yeah, and we can see the rider in 2nd place, the son of Criterium or Circuit Race legend Chris Walker, Joey Walker, going straight across there from Team Wiggins. Horton railing it round that corner quickly, followed by Joey Walker, and then I think it's Chris Latham, but straight on the front of the bunch you see Johnny McAvoy just sitting up, making himself wide, trying to help his teammate get a little bit more of a gap off the front.
Yeah, so Johnny McAvoy he won't be chasing his teammate Tobin Horton, although as we mentioned earlier, this is an individual event. If you have a teammate up the road, you're not going to chase it. So he'll just sit there, he'll have to make the other riders come round him if they want to chase it and bring this group of 3 back. You just see Joey Walker starts to make it to Tobin Horton with Chris Latham, and Dan Tullett also makes it across.
You can see some big gaps there as well, as we see on the right hand side there, Matt Gibson out the saddle trying to come across this gap, chasing onto the back of here. Is that young Ben Tullett just getting on the back there, Hannah?
Yeah, I think it's Dan Tullett actually. His older brother, the mountain biker on the British Cycling Academy.
Excuse me.
Yeah, Dan, very, very good rider. And it's great to see him actually come onto the road for a few races. He's mainly based in all the World Cups for the under-23s, over in Europe. So great to see him here at the Circuit Race Champs.
Yeah, absolutely. We can see now the pressure is on, and just coming across at the back there in the white helmet with the red shoulders and the white arms is young Tom Pidcock. On the back of him, Johnny McAvoy from Madison Genesis. We said this roughly 10 or 15 minutes ago. It's going to have to kick off soon. And the guarantee right now, it is absolutely kicking off in that bunch. The pandemonium has begun. Now, it's all about the numbers at the front. Who's got the most riders in the break? Who's willing to ride? Who's wanting to sit on? We can now see Pidcock with his hand in the air, gesticulating. I don't know whether he's potentially maybe got a problem or something with his bike. Nope, he would never have made it around that corner if he had a slow tyre. But Joey Walker still on the front as he comes into this cobbled, twisty section as we come into the big hairpin. The hairpin's been the part of this course which has caused the most damage. What are we thinking, Hannah? Is it going to come down to a bunch sprint? Is it going to be a break? What's your instincts?
Looking at this, I feel like it's going to come to a bunch sprint, but potentially as people attack out of this last bend here, we could see one rider go clear if they just whack it out. You can just see there Tobin Horton puts the pressure down out of that hairpin. Maybe someone who's got very good time trial, he's good at the kilo on the track. If they can just hit it from that corner, they could hang on until the finish, but they've got to put it all eggs in one basket and just go for it.
And the thing is as well, riders like Chris Latham here, one pro cycling on the front with the white shoulders and the jersey, he's having to do an awful lot of work on his own. a great sprinter in his own right. However, he's not got the luxury here of being able to sit back and rely on teammates. We can see here, obviously, JLT Condor have got riders in abundance. Madison Genesis also. Wiggins, they're a little bit short tonight, but they have got the winner of the Skipton Grand Prix in the team just 48 hours ago, Rob Scott, as well as a rider who is second, his teammate Tom Pidcock in there. So we can now see Jacob Scott taking it up, followed quickly there by Tom Moses, and then Tobin Horton slides onto the back.
Yeah, One Pro Cycling's a team. They've only got 4 riders in this race tonight, and they've got 2 of those riders in this front group with Chris Latham and Jake Scott. So in a race like the Circuit Race Champs, it doesn't really matter how many riders you have, as long as you race smartly. It actually kind of works in your favour, because the less riders you have, people don't look at you, because you think, well, what are they going to do? You can kind of roll off the front and kind of get a gap, and you can just see the gaps opening every time they go around all these hairpins.
Yeah, a prime example of that was last year. Pidcock was in what you wouldn't generally call one of the bigger teams. So anytime a break when it was JLT Condor following One Pro following Madison Genesis, and he just got to float around in that little bubble, just riding in his club team. Not a well-known team where people be looking at each other, because these guys are racing each other week in, week out. They get used to knowing each other. They get used to knowing the skill sets of each of their opponents. But he got the luxury of sitting on a little bit more and being very, very wise. This year, he's not got that opportunity.
No, everyone knows who Tom Pidcock is now, and he's in the team colours of Team Wiggins. You should just see now Matt Gibson, one of the most consistent riders this year, just make an attack. It's quite surprising to see him make this attack. We've still got half the race left to go, and he's a very good sprinter, so he can win bunch sprints. It's interesting to see him want to take this race up and go solo.
Yeah, absolutely. He took the words out of my mouth there. Gibson, I would be thinking he'd be one of the riders that John Herity was talking regarding the bunch sprint. He's got a massive engine on him. He's super quick. He's one of the most punchiest riders in this bunch. But obviously, could this be a bit of nerves? Could this be a bit of naivety? Could it be he's a little bit of inexperience potentially by Matt Gibson? Yeah,
Matt Gibson's still quite young. Obviously, rider we saw on the track a lot as a youngster. He was in the Team Pursuit squad just before Rio, and then he got glandular fever. So he's coming back from illness, but and this year he's had a real breakthrough year. But yeah, I think he could there be a little bit of nervousness and kind of patience. I think patience in a criterium is key.
Yeah, but someone who's not getting any patience tonight is Harry Tanfield, off the front again. And you know what? The perfect moment there for One Pro. Jacob Scott rolled off the front. His teammate Chris Latham was sitting at the front of the bunch. He just eased off, tapped on the brakes, let the gap go. And now we've got riders trying to get across this gap to Harry Tanfield, who is someone you do not let get more than 2 or 3 bike lengths. And I'll tell you why. You may never get back onto him.
You can just see the gap that Harry's opened up already. It's absolutely incredible, just from a few pedal revs and straight out of that corner, just a bit of effort. But he's another rider. He looks very smooth. He's a very smooth pedaler. He doesn't actually look like he's going that fast, but he's solid on the bike. He's just putting all that power straight through into his legs and into the drive chain.
He's incredible. You look at him, you think he looks like he's riding through treacle, but he's not. He's doing the best part of 50 odd k per hour. And the thing is that you can see on the back, everyone behind him, there's guys pulling out the line left, right and centre. Chris Latham's not getting a very good time here trying to pull us back, but Tom Moses is going straight over the top. He knows the danger. He wants to be with Tanfield.
Yeah, and it's looking like he can get across, but it's also Chris Latham again making that effort to try and close the gap. How many more times can Chris Latham make this effort? He's got 200% me riders on his wheel there in the red and white. That's Matt Walls, the winner from Otley Grand Prix just 10 days ago, and then Dan Tullett, mountain biker, very much enjoying his road racing this season. So yeah, it's great to see. We might see him transfer over next year and stop mountain biking altogether.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to see the talent and depth in British cycling. We think always about the Tour de France, etc., but all these riders have got to come through a pathway, and 100% me, the British Academy team, is that pathway for the future of British cycling. As we can see, we've got young lads here, 18-year-old, taking on the best riders at this discipline, dare I say it, in the world.
Yeah, I think Britain leads the way in criterium racing. I think we have got the best riders for criteriums in the world. Actually, we've got many series like the Tour Series. They have up to 10 to 8 rounds within 3 weeks. It's very tiring, hard racing. It's over 1 hour, and then you also have the National Circuit Series, which consists of 6 rounds. So yeah, we have some of the best criterium races in the world here.
I tell you what, the alarm bells are going in that bunch, because the minute Moses got across, he took a big breath. He had a look at Tanfield. trying to see if there's any weakness in his legs, but straight across from the bunch there we've got Tobin Horton straight on it. Madison Genesis swiftly followed by another JLT Condor, the man we spoke about just a few minutes ago, Matt Gibson. He does not want to be on the back foot at all tonight, does he?
Yeah, he's very, very tentative. You can just see he's looking around constantly. But is he going to be doing too much work that will affect his bunch sprint towards the end of the race? This is what he's got to think about. He's got to think about saving the legs, but also, yeah, he's got to be in the front of the race to win as well. So that's he's got to think wisely about this.
Yeah, he's got to be wise. He's got to be sneaky. He knows what he can do. He's just got to keep his powder dry, be cool as ice, ultimately. But it's really, really difficult when you're in that crazy environment. You've got a crowd shouting at you. You've got the jersey up for grabs. You've got your team. You're absolutely pumped for this race, and it's very easy to lose it, to do silly things, to hemorrhage energy left, right, and centre, to take your eye off the ball and maybe take a corner on the wrong line and slide out, or make the wrong gear selection, come out the corner in too big a gear and use more energy than you're supposed to. So you have to be really lucid and really switched on, especially in these races when they are only over 1 hour.
Yeah, definitely. And I think sometimes you can want a race, you'd want to win a race so much that actually it just doesn't go your way.
Here we can see Colin Sturges. We're going to go across to Laura for a quick interview with Colin Sturgeon, the manager of Madison Genesis.
Yeah, we've just had Colin shouting words of encouragement to his riders. They need numbers up the front with the likes of Harry Tanfield on the attack. What's the game plan from now on in?
Pretty much don't let a move like that one go. That was looking quite dangerous there for a minute. You've got Latham, who's having a really good night. Harry Tanfield, you can never let him out of your sights. It's good. We've still got 6, well, we've now got 5 in that first 20 riders, which is good numbers. But we just need to be attentive. Can't let anything go up the road.
And we are hearing there is a black flag on the course, so we're just going to see exactly what is going on. Back to the commentators now, just to see what's happening in the race itself.
Yeah, an interesting moment there. We had the potential here to have a bit of a jam happening in the front of the group here, because obviously the front bunch is actually catching the rest of the race. So the most important thing with every bike race is safety. You need to make sure these riders can negotiate the turns with no obstacles in the way, and unfortunately another 40-man bunch is a massive obstacle. So good shout there by the commissaires, I think. Yeah,
I think that was a good call by the commissaires there. We've seen in the past that the lead groups have caught lapped riders, and it's just caused carnage. Some riders go through the lap riders, and then the group that they were with in the leading group can't get through because there's not enough room, and then someone goes on to take the win who perhaps it's controversial, but anyway, I think it's a good call by the commissaires to take out that lap group, because they're not going to be getting back to this front group anyway.
Ultimately, it complicates the race. You could get one rider jumping across to another group and then taking advantage of the rest, while the back of the bunch, they're chasing full gas into the wind. But yeah, definitely the best decision, I think, there by the commissaires. Interesting to hear from Colin Sturges there that they can't let moves go up the road. They have to have a man in every single move. We can now see that JLT are back on the front, trying to control it, trying to keep the pace high. On the left-hand side, Richard Hanley moving up there in the striped jersey of Madison Genesis as he slides up the inside.
Yeah, it's great to see Rich back up there in these criteriums. He's no more of a climber in road races, in stage races, so it's great to see him actually, up the front here in this technical and hard, fast circuit race.
He's a very similar engine to Harry Tanfield. I remember when Rich burst onto the scene as an under-23, and he was very, very powerful. I mean, I actually remember him helping one of his teammates, an old teammate, Mike Cumming, win the Tour of Korea, and ultimately Rich just sat on the front for like 4 days. So he has a massive engine, an impeccable rider with outrageous class. The last couple of years he's been floating around, but now he's sliding into this kind of super domestique duties within teams, controlling stuff. Strong rider, dependable rider, and of course an absolute class rider.
Yeah, and he's playing a great team role here. The pace has been so full gas. We're up to 1:38 now on the lap times. He'll just sit on the front, same as Moses now. Just let the group have a little breather. Let their leaders, such as Connor Swift and Tobin Horton, just get a little bit of recovery, and then I think we'll start seeing some full gas racing for the last 20 minutes.
Again, we're a little bit nervous happening here. They know they're getting closer to the finish. It won't be long before we start seeing the lap board. And then ultimately the countdown begins. That's when the nerves really kick in. That's when you have to think about your tactics. Your sprinters have to be in the right place. If you're going to launch a last minute attack, you need to be switched on. You cannot let anyone slip up the road, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think I remember been a bike race, I think the most nervous time was when you start seeing that lap board come on, when it says, 5 laps to go, 4 laps to go, 3 laps to go, etc. It's actually a nerve-wracking time because you've not got any time to make any mistake. As soon as you make a mistake, that could be race over.
Yeah, it's that feeling of inevitability that I need to make sure I am switched on, I'm paying attention, I'm in the right place. There's so much information going through your head in those last 5 laps. Not only that, but you've got another 40, 50 people around about you who are all doing the same thing, so it gets incredibly nervous, and it just takes one person to take a risk.
Yeah,
it can end in tears.
Yeah, and I think also you know what you should be doing. You've ridden these laps multiple times, that these riders could be racing on this circuit now for 35 laps. You just see now Tom Moses once again on the attack. Very strong rider, and it's great to see him up there now in these criteriums. He's had some great results in the Tour Series this year too.
And hey, I tell you what, when you see Moses' shoulders rocking, he's going full gas, that's for sure. He's got such a beautiful style on the bike, very aerodynamic, very dynamic as he takes that corner full gas. We can see on the front of the bunch just coming through that straight, it was Richard Hanley. We've just been speaking about Hanley a moment ago, straight into domestic duties, doing his best to bring back, well, ultimately as one of his friends out of the racing circuit, Tom Moses.
Yeah, you can just see how, despite that big effort from Moses, how comfortable he looks. He looks completely focused and comfortable. He doesn't look like he's breathing hard at all, despite such a fast race.
And he's been prominent from the get-go. He was one of the first riders off the grid. He was one of the first riders to be in the front controlling the event. He's came today with his A game. Moses doesn't do attacks like that for nothing. He's not testing people. He's trying to get up the road, get the gap, and he wants those stripes, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I actually got a glimpse of that eagerness to win just a few weeks ago at the Tour of the Reservoir. He was only a couple of seconds down on the general classification, and incredible riding. Went on to take the overall. So it's, when Moses wants to win, he's not a rider that just kind of turns up and just bimbles along. He's keen to win tonight.
No, he's a class act, and he has been since he came on the scene as an under-18 junior rider, and you never lose that class. Your form may come and go, but you never ever lose your class. As we can now see, he's having a look over his shoulder, second minds what to do. He's going to look here now, see what's going to happen now with the JLT race. We see 5 laps to go, Hannah. Here we go, the madness is about to begin.
Yeah, all those riders, you can just see the 2 JLT riders at the back there. It's Ian Bibby and I think Ali Slater. John Mould also there, struggling a little bit at the back. As you can just see, Mould moves up a few places on the inside. It's definitely time now to start making your move. I was saying before that you ride this circuit 30, 35 times, that you know exactly what you need to do in the race and how to win the race. You can come and recce the circuit, you know how to win it, but it's just putting it into practice and making it perfect and winning the race.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, if you look down the line here, we've got obviously Moses on the front, Hanley in second place. We've got 2 100% me riders, but in 5th place, staying out of trouble, out of sight, out of mind, Tom Pidcock. He's still there, but right on the back of him, who have we got, Hannah?
Matt Gibson once again. Yeah, Pidcock, we've not seen him do an effort for some time now. He was going with those moves earlier on, but now he's kind of just settled in, knew that the breakaway wasn't going to go. He's seen that the break keeps trying to go, but it comes back immediately. So Pidcock just sitting in, and he's just getting a free ride almost without doing any work.
We touched on earlier at the start about this finishing straight. It's twisty finishing straight. What we have to remember is that this corner here we're about to take, that 180 round onto the home straight, this is actually where the race finishes for a lot of these lead-out men, for a lot of these sprinters. The first man through those corners, if you're first, second or third, you're in a chance of winning this. It's going to be absolute mayhem round there this last lap.
Yeah, now speaking to a few of the riders earlier on, John Mould said that you just want to be first into that last bend, last 180 degree bend, because this is still 250, 300 metres to go, but because you have the chicane in the middle going into the finish, it just disrupts everyone. You just want to make sure that you can take your own line. You're not having to follow someone else's wheel and get... they decide where you go. You just want to be able to take your own race.
So 4 laps to go. On my very quick maths, that's roughly about 6 or 7 minutes left of racing. It's going to get very, very nervous now. Everyone's going to be fighting for position, and you can see the riders in the perfect place. Tom Pidcock, we've got Chris Latham, and just sliding up the inside of Latham there we had young Matt Gibson. So you have to be in this first 10, but at the same time when you're in that first 10 you have to protect yourself. You have to make sure riders are not coming over your shoulder, into corners, coming underneath you, mid-corner, so you have to be very, very protective of yourself.
Yeah, and you've also got to be, these riders will be very tired now. You start to get a little bit blurry vision from the effort that you keep making. So, with such a technical circuit, with all the hairpins and the twists and turns, and also the change in surface, you've got to try and keep that focus and fight for your position. You've worked so hard to be in that position all race. You don't want to lose the best position, top 5, top 6 placing in the last few laps.
I think Tom Moses has given away the game here. He's been on the front now for the last 2 or 3 laps. He knows now that he's not going to get away. I think they're all realise this is going to come down to a small group sprint. He's now on the front, maintaining the speed, as you can see, out the saddle, big push out the home straight. His team sprinter is just only 4 riders behind him. If he keeps the speed up, it means there's less chance of Gibson being rolled as he comes out to the last corner, but you can see they're all sitting around about Gibson as we now hit 3 laps to go.
Yeah, you can just see Richard Hanley absolutely happy just to sit on Moses' wheel there, let him do all the work. And Moses is happy too because, he's controlling the whole race. You can just see now a move goes and Richard Hanley makes his move around this right-hand turn.
Yep, straight away, local lad Harry Tanfield straight on the back of it as it's now heating up 2.5 laps to go. Sorry, 3 laps to go. I'm getting too excited here. Handley on the front, Tanfield all over him at the back, but straight away, JLT Condor, Matt Gibson right in the perfect spot.
Yeah, you can just see Matt Bostock as well in the red and white in third wheel up there. It's great to see him come back into form. Rider who's very good on the track, but he's not been going as well as we might have expected. But is this him coming back into form, and could he potentially take a result?
I tell you what, if you're at this point, at the thick end of this race at this point, you've got form. And you know what? If you can smell the finish with 2 or 3 laps to go, you get that extra edge, you get that little 5-10%. And you know what? Could he speed upset tonight? Could he be the rider that they don't realise is actually on super form? As we can see now on the outside of the bunch there, Tobin Horton moving up the outside, getting nervous. JLT are rolling to the front, looks like Mould bringing up his teammate, looks possibly Ali Slater potentially.
I just see there Tom Stewart on the wheel of Mould. So it's Mould, Tanfield, Stewart. Yeah, close the front of the peloton here, just control it and make sure that no one can get round. As you can see, Tom Stewart makes his effort. Yeah,
you can see right away, Tom Stewart, he's just moved himself all the way back from the back of the group as he goes past the line with 2 laps to go. So less than 4 minutes of racing left here at the HSBC UK British Circuit Race Championships. It's going to be really hectic this last few laps. You can see the shape of the group it's getting strung out, and then it's becoming a big bulge, just 3 or 4 riders behind Gibson. Everyone wants to be on Gibson's wheel because they know that he's the fastest man here. But I tell you what, Tom Pidcock is a few riders back here. He has got 1 rider alongside him in Joey Walker. They're going to have to make a massive rush up the outside on one of these straights to move up.
You can just see Matt Walls as well, very good sprinter. Won Otley Grand Prix 10 days ago, like we said before, and a rider that people kind of underestimate a little bit. So, he's got the perfect position being on Matt Gibson's wheel. He have a great lead out here from JLT Condor because they're not going to give up this front spot now. They're in the best position, and they're just going to keep riding and riding until they see the 200 metre to go mark, and they'll let Matt Gibson go.
They have to. You can see the intention here in Tom Stewart. You can see it written all over his face, his body language. He's going full tilt here along this back straight. Gibson's sitting in the perfect place, but he has to be careful because he could be easily ambushed here as they're all looking at him. He knows what he's doing. He's looking over his shoulder. As you can see, the riders sliding up the insides here. One of the riders from 100% meet along with Tobin Horton. They're all fighting for Gibson's wheel as they now come along this home straight. Again, Stewart back on the gas. He wants to make sure he can protect his sprinter as they're now coming on this home straight one more time.
You just see it's 100% me gathering themselves in the lead out train for JLT Condor.
So right now on the front, Tom Stewart, JLT Condor. John Mould looking over his shoulder. He can see the small diminutive figure of Tom Pidcock trying to move up the inside. As he comes round the inside, slides into second place. Mould had no real option there. He couldn't do much about that. He's a small rider. He's a quick rider. But I tell you what, he's an aggressive rider as well, is Tom Pidcock.
Yeah, definitely, and he certainly knows how to win a bike race, and he's not scared to make those type of moves where he'll push a rider out of the way. He might be small, but he's not scared of these bigger, more experienced riders at all.
Absolutely not. As we see here, Mouldy moves up the outside, brings the sprinter up. Tom Stewart slides into 3rd place, but again, Pidcock is not willing to let Gibson's wheel go here, as Mould now is on the front, and he's going to be on the front now till he blows his doors, that's for sure.
You can just see Tom Stewart's done his ride, but he's got himself on the wheel of Matt Gibson. You can just see now straight away Pidcock's got in front of Tom Stewart. And but it's great that Tom Stewart can stay there. He can just come out of this corner a little bit slower than everyone else, let these three get a little gap, and it means that the rider behind him has to chase.
Tell you what, there's gaps in that line already, and Moldy is absolutely nailing it up here. It's going to be the first person out of this corner who's going to be national champion, and you know who what? The defending champion slides in first. Tom Pidcock taking the corner, this 180 degree corner with roughly 300 metres to go. Gibson straight on the back of him. Who's going to get this? It's going to be Gibson versus Pidcock. Mould in third place, holding on strong as Matt Gibson makes a big audacious move up the inside. Gets some clean air between him and Tom Pidcock. Matt Gibson. Gibson's going to take it for JLT Condor, followed by Tom Pidcock. What a ride by Pidcock though. John Mould, I think, crossed the line there in third place. Another medal for John Mould. Will he ever win the British Championship? But I tell you what, JLT Condor had a great plan tonight. Matt Gibson. It was an interesting finish. They were shoulder to shoulder, and it just shows you the amount of respect they've got for each other. And obviously, Gibson, fastest man on the night. We knew he would maybe do it. We had spoke about him at the top of the show. But I tell you what, Tom Pidcock, he gave him a real good run for his money.
Yeah, the way JLT executed that plan, absolutely nailed it. And it was textbook. They knew that the breakaway wasn't going to go after that last time when Tom Moses attacked, and they all just committed to each other. Tom Stewart, John Mould, to lead out Matt Gibson, and it paid off. John Mould also held on for third place. I'm sure he won't be happy with another bronze medal, but hey, fantastic display of teamwork. And I actually thought Tom Pidcock was going to get Gibson on this little section here. You can just see how the bikes absolutely fly up in the air, but yeah, Gibson able to hang on for the win.
You can see the gap that's been left there. Tobin Horton whacking the top of his handlebars, 5th place on the line. They had sprinter in the team, Madison Genesis. Unfortunately, didn't manage to deliver. But I tell you something. Matt Gibson owes that to his teammate John Mould. Mouldy was on the front there for the best part of the last lap. But to show the strength and depth the JLT Condor have got, first and third across the line, John Mould did an epic turn there, and it just shows you how important it was to get round that last corner in the first three. We did look at the sprint. We knew that we had to be first or second round that corner. Gibson was second, but I tell you what, the speed he came off Tom Pidcock's shoulder there was very, very impressive.
Yeah, and actually Pidcock had a perfect ride there. He got himself into first position going around that last real bend on the right-hander. But yeah, Gibson just had absolute raw power just to get round him before they got to the little chicane. And it was head-to-head, it was shoulder-to-shoulder. It was, intense. You can just see the delight on the faces of Tom Stewart there and John Mould, and it's nice to see earlier, all the riders respect each other so much. Joe Holt there on the left-hand side coming to congratulate Matt Gibson on his victory.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can see right away on their faces that they're over the moon with this, and it's an important event to win because you get to be the national champion. At every city centre race, you're the first person called up. You stand out from the crowd. You have that white jersey with the stripes on. As you can see, Gibson, he's beaming from ear to ear here. It was a tough shift for the young lad, but I tell you what, the last 2 years, he kind of blew onto the scene as an 18-year-old in the Tour Series, winning 2 or 3 rounds off the back of no one really knowing who he was. But he's definitely established himself as one of possibly the greatest crit riders that Britain's produced so far.
Yeah, definitely 18-year-old, and he was doing fantastic times in team pursuit and individual pursuit, and then he was training with the senior squad on the track, and it's once he got an illness, and it's great to see him come back, and he's absolutely storming ride, and he's had a consistent year. He's been one of the best riders in every single criterium throughout 2018, and it's great to see him. He'll ride that British Champs jersey for 12 months now. I'm just curious, will he go for white shorts or black shorts?
Controversial, Hannah. I would say, given we ride in the UK and it rains predominantly a lot, not this year however, every criterium pretty much has been in the sun, I would say black shorts would probably be the best option. He's young, big future, came through the world class plan, came through the academy, had a couple of years, illness, everything like that, but John Herity has a very good knack of picking these young riders up and basically dragging them back up to the level they were at, if not exceeding that level. He's got a real good feel for young riders, and he's an outstanding team manager. He knows exactly how to motivate his riders, and more importantly, he holds court. You're in that camper van and John is holding court. He's the one telling you what you guys are going to do. He listens to everyone, and then he makes the best decision, and tonight the best decision, as we can see, was Matt Gibson.
Yeah, and I think every rider within JLT Condor actually had their opportunity to try and win the race. You saw John Mould make an attack early on, it didn't work. You saw Moses make multiple attacks, it didn't work. You saw Tom Stewart get to the front and try and make his mark, it just didn't work. So they all came together and they knew that the plan would be then to lead out Matt Gibson for the win, and that's what they did, and they did it perfectly. You just see John Herity there in the black congratulating his riders.
Yeah, and we're going to throw across to Laura now to have a chat with the winner.
Thank you very much to our commentators, and I'm joined now by the triumphant Matt Gibson and indeed the JLT Condor team around you. An amazing team effort from you guys tonight, but it was all about you over that line.
Yeah, I mean, it's me that won at the end of the day, but it's everyone else that did all the work for the rest of the race, covering moves, making sure it was quick enough that people couldn't attack, and yeah, I definitely couldn't have done it without them. That lead out into the last few corners with Tom and Mouldy, I can't thank them enough.
And the final sprint, do you remember anything from that final straight, or was it just sort of you see red and go?
Well, yeah, I came down that corner behind Pidcock, that last corner, and I kind of knew, to be honest, that if I came down that corner in a good spot, no one was really going to get the better of me down this last bit. I knew I was going to be the quickest guy here. It was just the whole race I was just thinking about making sure I got into that last corner in that spot. I knew I'd be able to get the win if I came in a good spot, so it's happy to be able to pull it off.
And I was down here in the pits with John Herity with the DSs, with some of the riders who were pulled. Just how tough was that? Being so close to the action, you could really feel and see it.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a hard race. It was flat out from start to finish. And Harry Tanfield was doing a lot on the front and made it super hard, which in the end suited me more because it just made that didn't split up at all. So it really helped me, that.
And what does it mean to you, national champion?
Yeah, it's my first national championships not on the track, so it's great to be able to pull that off and be able to get a jersey that I can wear for a few races for the rest of this year.
Congratulations. We'll let you get to the podium and we'll chat to you in a bit as well when you're in the national jersey itself. Well done to you, and back to you, James and Hannah.
You can just see Gibson there. There's an awful lot of relief off that young man's shoulders. Incredibly nervous, you could tell during the race. He made a few efforts off the front, but I think that was really just to reassure himself that he was the man on form. He said, very confident, he knew if he can round that corner, first to second, it was his.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people attack early on in the race just to test the water, test the legs and see how they feel and see if they can recover quick enough to be able to go with anything that might go later on. And Matt Gibson was very confident of his plan for tonight.
And I think it's great to see the future of the sport. Two young riders, both around about 18, 19 years old, going head to head, taking on all the more experienced riders. They're not scared, and I think that's a great metaphor for the future of British cycling. We've learned over the last maybe 10, 15 years that we can be competitive on the world level, we can be competitive at Olympics and Tour de France, but it's great to see that success is breeding success, and you don't build that confidence without the courage, and tonight Gibson was absolutely courageous.
Yeah, and I think as a whole, the JLT Condor squad, they all know what they want. They always have a real game plan, and they also have they're able to work together, and if plan A doesn't work, they're able to go back, speak to each other within the peloton, or obviously Criterium's quite hard to go back and speak to each other, but just to think of a different plan. You'll have John Herity on the sidelines in the pitch, just giving them tips and markers of what he wants them to do. And it's been known before that Herity has little secret signs that he uses in the pits to give his riders a heads up or tips of what he thinks they should do next.
Yeah, you sometimes see John at the side just doing all these crazy hand signals, like rubbing his belly and patting the top of his head. You never really know what he means, but the thing is with John, he's an absolute leader. He's been around the sport for so long. He's probably the most successful domestic team manager. The success that he breeds and the team that he runs is the professionalism is never in doubt. And as I said during the race, his team just seemed to have this sixth sense of where they are. We've seen John Mould did an epic ride there, but with 2 laps to go, Mould was on the back foot. He was in the wrong place, but he knew where he had to be. He was devoted and he was committed to the plan, and the plan was Gibson. You know what? Got through his own little turmoil, got to the front and laid it on the line for Gibson.
Yeah, after Mould's short-lived attack earlier on, he kind of went to the back of the peloton, found himself in the wrong place, and like you say, he knew he had to be at the front, made that effort, got to the front to help his teammate Gibson and delivered him perfectly.
And here we see the three riders on the podium. In the centre, the winner, Matt Gibson, to the left. Second place, Tom Pidcock, and on the right, John Mould. You can see the disappointment in Pidcock's face, can't you? He's a winner. He wanted to win.
Yeah, definitely. I spoke to him on Wednesday night in Skipton, and I said to him, how do you feel riding your last race in the stripes? He was like, well, might not be my last. You never know. And I think he was really coming here to defend that jersey. I think he will be disappointed, but you should see there John Mould getting his bronze medal, 3rd in a row. Is it going to get any better next year or the years after?
To be honest with you, he has been one of the most successful criterium riders in the history in British cycling, and I think tonight he showed his class and his experience there in the way in which he came back to help his teammate and facilitate Gibson's win at the end. But Gibson here, I think he's still in a bit of disbelief. He's about to pull on the stripy jumper, as we call it in cycling, the national champion. It's going to be interesting to see what his face is like when he gets this on his shoulders and he pulls that medal on, because not a lot of people get to experience this, and to be British champion is a massive privilege and a massive honour for any bike rider in the UK.
I think you can come into a race wanting to win, but to actually do it and put it into practice, I think I think he is in a little bit of disbelief. I think
looks like shell shocked, doesn't he? He's like, is this actually happening? Is this a dream? But yep, absolutely, he's been outstanding. As we see now, joining him on the podium, we've got the Deputy Mayoress of Stockton-on-Trent, Lynn Hall, just presenting the gentleman with a nice little trinket from Stockton-on-Tees.
Always got a lot of swag about him, Tom Pidcock, eh?
Yeah, you know what? When you're a young lad and you have a lot of success, it's very easy to get misconstrued as being arrogant. But I think, let's be honest, he's a class act, and he's got a very, very experienced head on those young shoulders, and he still has a lot to learn, not only in cycling but also in life. And you know what? He's in the best place he can be. He's at the top of his sport, doing what he loves, and you know what? He's going to have a massive, massive bright future ahead of him.
Yeah, definitely. And I think he's got a very experienced head on him already, but like you say, a lot to learn. And some people just have this natural talent to win bike races. It just all works well for them, and you can just see it the way they race. They just want it. There's no fear going into the final corner trying to barge someone out the way. And Pidcock's one of them.
Here we go. Fantastic to see. Gibson's not. I don't even got a chance there. Need to be careful on that podium because it can be pretty slippery, all that champagne around. As the two JLT Condor boys say cheers to each other, and suddenly the jersey's back in the JLT Condor camp.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time it was with JLT actually.
I think it might have been Clancy.
Yeah, I think so. Was that 2011, 2012?
Oh, you're testing my
2011, I think.
My memory. And here we are. We have the top 10. So Matt Gibson takes the HSBC UK National Circuit Race Championship ahead of Tom Pidcock from Team Wiggins. John Mould rounds out the medals from JLT Condor, swiftly followed by Matt Walls, Tobin Horton, Matt Bostic, Charlie Page, young Daniel Towlett in 8th place. That's a cracking ride. And of course, local hero Harry Tanfield, and then Jake Stewart from 100% Me rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, I think Harry will be a little bit disappointed in his ride.
However, he does get a visit to the podium as the best local rider, which maybe get to salvage a little bit from it. But he came here. He was, I have to say, for a rider of his calibre, he has been fantastic tonight. He absolutely done everything that he could to try and break that race up. And Matt Gibson, it's the first thing Gibson said when he came across the line, Harry Tanfield made tonight rock hard. And as we said, you look at him, you're like, is he actually trying? But he's got such a smooth, powerful style that he deserves to be on that podium tonight, irrespective of the result that he got. But he definitely deserves that just reward for standing on there and getting the claps and the jeers from the crowd.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone here in Stockton will still be proud to be able to watch Harry race here in his local town.
He's a cracking lad. It's a cracking family. They've got a real good outlook on racing, and it's an exciting time. They've him and his brother have done a lot of interesting things. But we're going to go now across to our trackside commentator, Laura.
Thanks very much, James. Oh, what a night of racing we have seen. Absolutely thrilling stuff. In the women's race, of course, Anna Henderson dominated from start to finish. A race of a very different nature to what we've just seen there in the men's race, which really was bunched together. More a war of attrition. We saw riders being shelved off the back rather than certainly riders attacking off the front. And that's because, as Matt Gibson said to me, you had the likes of Harry Tanfield and Tom Moses to an extent as well on the front, making it so hard that riders simply could not get away. And ultimately that played very much into the sprint specialist's hand. Matt Gibson coming away with the win. So not only does he currently lead the circuit series here in the UK in that British domestic series, he's now also the circuit champion as well, a national champion wearing those red, white and blue stripes. And very soon I am expecting him to come down from the podium and come and join me here. First of all, though, we have our commentators who have hot-footed it from the commentary box. I shall bring them all into shot now, hurriedly getting ready. James and Hannah, what a race. Talk me through how you saw it play out.
I think it was a phenomenal last few laps. It was a slow burner, but honestly, the fireworks when they lit that blue touch paper, it was full on. Hannah and I were sitting in the commentary looking at each other going, who's going to be the first one to let go on that home straight? And it was literally, we mentioned it in the commentary that you had to be first or second around that last corner. If you weren't, it was game over.
I think it's an incredible race. It was, constantly 1 minute 38, 1 minute 40 lap times, and it just shows how fast the pace was the whole time. And that riders could hardly move up from it within that top 10. The top 10 generally stayed quite the same. And it was only until 3 laps to go that JLT kind of came and did the lead out for Matt Gibson, and they played it to perfection.
And fascinating for me actually being down here in the pits, firstly because I saw on that hairpin the angle these guys are getting their bikes at around that corner, and then the clunking of the gears as they've got to really accelerate out because you suddenly hit a dead corner basically.
Yeah, the thing is with these races is you've got to have a reliable bike, a reliable skill set and a reliable knowledge of the course. These guys are professionals. They've got this dialed down. And when you are just standing at the side, just watching it as a stander by on the side, you can't help but be impressed with the skill set that these guys have got. It's
I was
so
terrified
impressive.
watching it.
And here he is.
Here he is himself, Matt Gibson. Come on in. Congratulations. The national jersey now on your shoulders. How does it feel?
Yeah, it's great to be able to take the win. It's something I've been thinking about for the past few weeks. I knew it's something I could win, and I knew I had the legs to do it, and it's great to be able to pull it off on the day and take the jersey home to wear for a few races this year.
And you've had about a few minutes now for it to sink in, but what are your teammates saying to you? What's DS John Herity saying?
I haven't actually managed to speak to John yet, and I spoke to a few of the teammates, obviously saying well done, but I owe them a massive thank you for all the work that they did today. Definitely couldn't have done without them.
A supreme team effort, and obviously you're now going to continue this vein of form into the next of the circuit series in Sheffield next week.
Yeah, obviously it'd be nice to do those jerseys with it, well, those laces with a jersey on, and see if I can take that series again like I did last year.
And James and Hannah, for you guys watching Matt, what did you make of his performance?
First and foremost, Matt, it's been a fantastic campaign, to be honest with you. All year you've been on the front foot, you've been at the pointy end of all the circuit races. Personally, I'm very, very chuffed for you. It's great to see someone who's an animated bike rider, an aggressive bike rider, having those stripes on. Talk me through that last corner, though, because we were talking in the commentary about how important that last corner was.
Yeah. I knew I kind of wanted to be second into it, and Moldy did a great job of taking me up to there, and then Pidcock attacked into that last corner, so I just went from John's wheel straight onto Tom's wheel, and then just followed him down the corner and kicked straight away out the corner, and knew I'd have the gas to come round him. Came round him with plenty of time to spare.
Shoulder to shoulder all the way to the little dip. Were you thinking, I've not went round here this fast yet tonight?
I knew I was coming back at him, so I was confident in my sprint, to be fair. I know on other courses that Tom might get the better of me, but I know when it comes down to an out-and-out drag race to the line, I should be able to get him.
We did notice, Hannah, didn't we, that early on in the race, you were the bookies' favourite, let's be honest about it. Everyone knew you were the man to beat tonight.
You were my pick.
I'm my pick.
Literally this afternoon I was like, oh. But Hannah and I did notice that you made a few little attacks during the race.
Yeah.
Was that really to settle the nerves and just see how the legs were feeling? Because obviously if you're in the group, there's not an awful lot of feedback you're getting.
It's I kind of find it quite useful to help me to stay at the front, and I just thought I'd test the legs, see how everyone else was faring. It was a fast race, and I felt really good for the whole thing. comfy it was hard, but at the same time knew I was comfy compared to other people. So I just thought I'd have a few goes and see what happens really, and if I got a gap, then I'd keep going.
But for you, no gap needed and just the bunch sprint down that, finishing straight in the end. Well, what a night of racing. Very quickly, your highlight of the evening?
My highlight will be next week when Matt tells us what colour shorts he's going to be wearing with his national champion skin suit.
Oh, I don't know yet.
That is the burning question. That's the big one. Hannah, highlight for you?
I just think seeing JLT Condor come together and do that lead out for you, Matt, was just absolutely fantastic. You all had your opportunity to take the win tonight. Moses off the front, John Mould off the front. Everyone had their opportunity, and when they realised that the breakaway wasn't going to stay, everyone committed to you to win, and I think it was just fantastic to see them all commit and help you take that victory tonight.
Needless to say what your highlight will be tonight, winning national jersey on your shoulders. Congratulations to you, Matt Gibson. That is all we have time for here in Stockton. It's been a thrilling 2018 HSBC UK National Circuit Championship. Congratulations to Matt Gibson, and congratulations also to Anna Henderson, our women's winner earlier on today. Sheffield is our next stop. If you want to see some more circuit racing, make sure you catch the highlights. But from all of us here in Stockton, see you next time.